The search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Move 11 has a new icon next to his name. What's up, everybody? Move 11 has a founder icon next to his name. That's crazy. 28 months. He now has a 28-month founder icon. What is up with the founder icon, man? How did you get that? I've never seen anybody have stuff. Is that some new feature here? That's awesome. Certainly deserves it. Move 11, 28 months as a subscriber, and very generously, not only being a 28-month subscriber, but donating 10 gift subs early this week. The Rati. Ready every time instantly. Ready every time instantly. I'm always ready on time. Guys, it's our subscriber stream. Not like a highly watched stream. I mean, this is really a specialty stream. I give back to the subscribers. We don't have as many views. I was thinking that my viewership is down, a little bit. But over the summer, since the summer, I've only been doing 5 streams a week as opposed to 6. I think when I get back to Europe, once my life comes together to a normality again, I mean, it's possible I'll be able to get back to streaming 6 days a week like I used to. So if you think about it, like if 1 in 6 streams is a subscriber stream, my viewer numbers will go up slightly. We have less viewers usually for this stream, but again, this is like a special stream. I don't care if our viewership is not high. I really want to focus on giving back to the subscribers. However, having said that, we have a problem, kids. Ironically, like last week, we had maybe less submissions than ever for game analysis. This week we have like a record. I think I have 15. Jim, Savadog, Nefedov, Bisonov, Ludwig, that's 5. Asterbait, Warnacki, Merle Dixon, Mule Skinner, and Mr. Slowhand. That's 4, 5, that's 9. Uber Driver is 10. Normally I do 10 games in a subscriber stream. That would only get us through Uber Driver. We still have Nodge Papa, Merle Dixon. So these are the honorable mentions. Nodge Papa, Merle Dixon, Good 40%, Arsenal, and Move 11. That's 15 submissions. There's no way I'm going to get to 15 games and analyze them properly. So we're going to do our best to get through at least 10. I'm kind of tempted to just skip over all the others, and if I do more than 10, like do Move 11, since he is a founder. He's a founding father of the stream and a donator of 10 gift subs. I might just, if I have to do 11, I'll probably do the Move 11. The rest of you guys, just remember to get it in on time next time. It's first come, first serve. So, but without further ado, let's get started. I've got Jim, who's probably not here. He's usually here a little bit later. We've got Jim, our friend and supporter from Greece. He's going to, I like the fact the stream is very international. We move back and forth from Europe to the United States ourselves. Warnacki. Keep the others on the backlog, on the back burner. You never get to make Thursdays. Every time I do, I get a game. See, I predicted already, Arsenal, privately, that you would already be complaining. I mean, I knew it. I said to somebody, as soon as I got the 14th submission from Arsenal, that there would be a salty complaint lodged in a stream. I said I know he's gonna be making a comment or something. All right, guys, let's get started. It's Jim. Jim is first. Where's Jim? There he is. A fun blitz game on the Forbidden website. Yeah, making it tempting. It's like all these articles about the Joker movie saying how dangerous it is. Like if we keep advertising how dangerous the Joker movie is, you're just going to keep like making millions and millions of people want to go see it. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people realize that. Probably half the articles about how you know, disturbing the Joker could be for humanity will just make that many more people see it. So Jim is only popularizing the Forbidden website by saying this here. Okay. A fun blitz game on the Forbidden website. Smith Mora. Jim versus someone. Bob subscribed with Twitch Prime. First. How can Bob be a founder too? You're still a founder even though you're 2 months later than the Move 11. He's the later generation. The next generation. Sladgie the next generation. Bob is like was it Colonel Decker? Alright, Jean-Luc Picard. Basically, Bob is Jean-Luc Picard and Move 11 is Captain Kirk. Alright. The next generation. So, the Forbidden website, Jim is playing white. He's playing the Mora Gambit with white. He was playing B3 before. I suspect that Jim has been maybe influenced by some other people in the stream. Somewhat unsound people to play the Mora Gambit. Maybe he's been hanging out on a Forbidden stream or something. But I know that Jim plays a lot of simuls with other players and stuff like that as well. Alright, so whatever you want to do, play the Mora Gambit. C3, D3. And thanks Bob and Move 11 for being long-time subscribers. Mr. Slowhand cheered 1,000 bits and shared rewards to 17 others in the stream. Wow. 1,000 bits, Mora for lifetime. Wow, Mr. Slowhand just donated 1,000 bits for the Mora. That is awesome. That is so awesome, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Slowhand. I'm just trying to get started. You guys are distracting me with this awesome donation, but we've got this list of angry subscribers who everybody wants to get their games analyzed. And I still haven't gotten to the first one. And I started late, but that's all right. I'll run over, we'll go over time 10 minutes today. Although I do want to see the Houston Astros. I'll be late to the start of the game. The Astros start at 7. I want to see the Rays beat the Astros in Major League Baseball, but that'll be starting at 7. Alright, so this variation I tried a couple games here against someone on Sound. We actually analyzed it together. Where's the donate button? There are various donate buttons. I mean, you can hit the donate for PayPal. You can do donate on Streamlabs with a streaming donation. You can just donate bits. You can donate subs to the stream. I want to go on record as saying that I think this variation sucks for black. And I tried it. We've looked at it with someone on Sound in detail. And it just sucks. And I played the accelerated dragon for black, so I thought, and I think a lot of people are like, oh well, this can't be any different from like a normal Mora, but it is bad. I mean, it's as bad or worse than a normal Marazzi. It's as bad or worse than normal Marazzi for black. There's just no counterplay. I've had two games with someone on Sound, one of our regulars here, and we looked at it. There's just no way for black to equalize. Kind of a weird move order for black to play d6 here. I don't see any particular benefit. And now this is just utterly random. The random move generator, knight d7. Yeah, he's just making random moves. I mean, there's no way he's getting in b5. I don't see how black's going to get in b5 here. The knight is... Arsenal says, it makes sense controlling dark square breaks. Don't know what you mean by that. White's not making any breaks. I mean, black's the one that has to make breaks. Black's breaks are b5 and d5. Like in a hedgehog or Marazzi. And white's the one with more space and the Marazzi setup. Black's the one that has to break here, break out. So, I mean, knight d7, it's not the worst move in the world. You can do a hedgehog with like b6 and stuff, but I'm not crazy about it. So, whatever. And it's kind of like a con Sicilian. I mean, this could literally, you know, now that I think about it, basically it's extremely similar to a con Sicilian. Yeah. Bishop e7, rook e1. I mean, I'm not sure if rook e1. I like this better, queen e2. And probably you're placing your rooks on c1 and d1 here, Jim. Jim's actually here. It's a blitz game. I know it's a blitz game, but I want to just treat it with the utmost seriousness, like as if it was a long game. 17 games for today. There's 15. Black preps f5 in these structures. I don't know what Arsenal, have another beer, man. Have another beer, my friend. Somebody buy him a beer. Settle down there. Rook e1, it's a reasonable move. I like queen e2 better. Queen e2, yeah, this is kind of weird. This rook here for me. Oh, the classic. First time this happened to me was like this guy Florentino Garmendes, Mexican player, did it to me in a Scheveningen. That, but yeah, it's reasonable. This is a nice tactic here. Pressure down the e file, cute. Probably like too fancy, but we're having fun. This is not a serious game. It's a blitz game. E takes d5, e takes d5, neat. Neato. Knight g8. Knight g8. Compensation for sacrifice piece. Plus there's this, and this, and this. And all kinds of fun here. We just dismiss an idea without considering it. How often does black play f5? It's bad. And it's bad in the Marazzi too, Arsenal. I'm dismissing it. It's positionally bad. I've done it, and it's bad. Trust me. I'm telling you from experience that f5 and the Marazzi, as well as this position, it's usually bad. But you don't have to believe me. You know, just don't have to take my word for it. So e takes d5, e takes d5, queen d8, and then bishop takes d6, and you're just toasted. Yeah, this is done. Cute game, Jim. Quick victory. Knight d4, knight c6, knight f5. Jim has gotten, he's been training or something. He's gotten stronger. Angry Dragon. My stream is awesome. Thank you. Feisty arse. All right. Blobix is here. So we're still down a piece with white. Now we can just play bishop takes and knight c6. And it's over. Ta-da! I mean, actually, we could just take the time to retreat our bishop back to c2. Acerbate is a ghost. I love that. Is that like new Halloween emotes? Yeah, I mean, there's not that much to see here. Not that much to see here. Simple and good. I know, I would have been tempted to just like take on d3. It's funny. This is the maximum material gain. Looking for mate, but I don't see it. And now there's mate. An aesthetic mate. Nice job. What's the sub? Sub. We have a sub? Who is the anonymous ghost there? That's Acerbate. What's up, guys? For some reason, we had a massive number of submissions. It's almost like everybody was here for the same week. Because like last week I had like 8 or 9. Some weeks I've had 8 or 9 games submitted. This week I have like 15. For some reason, everybody's available this week all at the same time, so we're not going to probably get to quite all the submissions. Okay, Jim, thank you. That was a fun game to start it off. We've got Save a Dog, who's second. And this is a long game he played in a tournament against a master who's 2,300. A guy who actually I worked with very briefly. He's a 2,300 US rated player, playing white. Let's flip the board. Because Save a Dog is black here against the 2,300. His note said, what? I have a very cool with board game. It's too late, man. I would say, submit it for next week if you want to, his notes, because I have too many games already. I would love to do it, but I'm already we're already too many games this week. It's never really happened that we had such an overload of games. That's why I have to make it first come, first serve. But usually it's around 10 or 12 games so we can kind of fit everyone in. But this week, everybody submitted their games. I guess because people who are playing in chess leagues and whatever, it's fall and more people have interesting games to submit. Okay, so this is Save Dog against Farzad Abdi. Farzad is white. He's a national master here in Massachusetts. He actually lives really close to me. He lives between Boston and where I live. D4, D5, E5, and Bishop F5. Farzad is white. Save a Dog is black, playing the Caro-Kann here. Knight F3, E6, Bishop E2, short variation. And so Save a Dog played C5. I mean, I don't really do well with the Caro-Kann. Is he Egyptian? No, he's from Iran. He's not Egyptian. Bishop E2. Iranian chess players, quite. Egyptians are good too. The original chess country. Persia. Bishop E2, C5. And this is I don't know. C5 is the older move. I think this was Karpov would sometimes play. I mean, Karpov probably played knight E7 as well. Come to think of it, I kind of like knight D7 the best here. I don't know if Save Dog's here now, but I didn't see him. We're getting started anyway. With or without you, we're doing your game analysis. But I've played C5 as well. I feel like it opens the position up a little bit too early. So you're hoping that Firouzja will play for France. Interesting. Is he living there? C5, castles, knight C6, C3. So, to me this doesn't seem good for white. It's not the best line. I have a friend, Emil Salanti, who plays this with white. And the sharpest lines involve white. And I guess Move 11 has looked at this as well. I mean, the sharpest lines would involve white not playing C3. C3 it's solid, but it's kind of feels like it's a little bit passive for white. I would think the sharper ways are Bishop E3, or trying to just play in a way that you'll get in C4 early. Castle, knight C6, so here, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Bishop E3 here. It seems more dynamic than playing C3 to me. It just seems to... The computer says C3 is the best move, I guess, but it just feels passive. So C takes D4, C takes D4. Now it just feels like it's a good... I mean, to my mind, it feels like it's a good advanced French. I mean, I just don't think this is ideal for white. You don't want to play the advanced French with black's bad bishop developed outside the pawn chain. I mean, of course white has space, but still, objectively, black should be equal here because he's playing a good advanced French. This piece is outside the pawn chain. Again, the critical lines are based on Bishop E3. And there's some really sharp lines with queen b6 and like sacrificing this pawn down here, where the theory is actually kind of mind-boggling. And that seems really dangerous for black to play like that. I mean, I don't know what Save Dog was planning. It seems like the safest bet is to take and play. I think like Anand has played this. Yeah, I mean, you see there's an Anand game. This seems like the best bet. Try to get developed, be able to take with your knight in f5, and just let him take your bishop on f5 and bring the knight out into the game. But c4 type of ideas will open it up. Try to open it up for white. So anyways, we get this kind of exchange French type position. Here, here, here. And you see here the knight c8 maneuver. This is always like kind of daunted me. That you see right there, Jonathan Spielman. Does anybody know, I mean, is just off subject here. Jonathan Spielman always writes on his little Twitch stream, he's streaming for lichess.org. Does anyone know if lichess is actually paying Spielman to analyze and do the stream, or is he just writing it like for lichess? You know what I mean? I don't really understand. Is lichess actually financially supporting him, or is he doing it on his own? I'm just kind of curious. Anyway, another Hungarian player. Do you want me to ask him? Well, no, it's not necessary. I'm just curious. I don't want to bother him, but I'm just curious because I mean, lichess is basically. I like John Spielman. He's cool and everything. I don't want like to see lichess become like a commercial site, you know. So put my shiny hat back on. Oof. Somebody time out Arsenal. Where's Mr. Coffee? Can we time out Arsenal? He's getting kind of snappy today. We better be careful with Mr. Coffee. He might take me seriously. I suggest. You know, if lichess becomes a commercial site, then, you know, I think it defeats the purpose of it. I just think that if he does stream and he's not getting paid, he shouldn't put like for lichess.org, but it's just, I don't know, just my 2 cents. If he's being employed by lichess to do the stream, that's what it sounds like. Well, you could just sell the site to chess.com or something, Jim. Then everybody could be happy. Maybe that's what will eventually happen. But I'm definitely out of here if lichess becomes a commercial site. We don't need like another chess.com. So knight g7. I don't like knight c8. I think it's a little too extreme. I was going to say Prohaska Peter, Hungarian GM, who's also very, very fond of... Well, I would just stream on like FICS or something, Jim. I'm not going to support like a commercial site to do my stream. You know, I would just go to a place that is like a free site or something. Bishop g6. I'd rather like stream on free internet chess server than support like a commercial chess site. Bishop g6 is actually not a bad move. This bishop g4 is possible. Even Spielman's knight c8 is okay. So yeah, I would hopefully Bernie will start his own site. You know, we can have a socialist chess site. I get it, you know. But I'm not gonna stream to put the money in the pockets of some private person, you know. To make some private people rich. That's not going to happen. Bishop g6, a3, knight f5. This is cool. Then b4. He's again playing like I've never played Farzad in an actual tournament game. I'm guessing that he's playing the Advanced French because he's playing exactly like it's in Advanced French here. With a space grab on the queen side, knight a4, knight c5. Actually, black gets outplayed now. Bishop e7, bishop b2. Obviously, that's a horrible piece. But it's typical of advanced French type positions where there's like a queen on b6 and you can go maybe knight a5. But the whole situation would be different in that instance. Black would have a bishop on d7 attacking like the a4 square. Just see what happens here now. Bishop h5, putting pressure on d4. Knight a4, protecting d4. I'm not super happy about this incursion. Bishop takes f3. Bishop takes f3. And suddenly, wait a minute. Like, where's our counterplay? I'm not really sure why Savadog elected to play bishop takes f3, in that position voluntarily. This knight isn't really going anywhere, and we're putting pressure on d4. I am concerned, however, about knight to b5. And if we have to play b6, like all the situations where white's playing knight c5 are bad for black. We're playing b6, we're weakening our white squares. We're giving up our bishop on c5. Knight a4, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3. I mean, I'm actually a supporter of lichess. Not too many people here, and amongst you guys as well, are actually donors to lichess. But I donate I think $10 a month, every month to lichess to support it. But if my donations are going to go toward, if my donations are going to go towards supporting competing streamers, then I think I'll probably stop donating to the site. Basically, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't make sense for me to donate to lichess if my donations are being used to support people who are competing with me as subscribers. I mean, as streamers. You know what I mean? So that's my problem. B6 here, we actually weaken our white squares tremendously. Very, very bad situation for black. I think bishop takes f3 was the start of a bad situation. But I don't know what black's supposed to do now. In this position, I guess just castle. And I think that maybe Savadog could play f6, but again, we're going to have to be very careful of knight c5. Bob, what conclusion did I make? I didn't know I made a conclusion. I don't recall making any sort of conclusion. Just questions about stuff. But all right, knight a4, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, b6. I like white now. Rook c1, rook c8. And this starts to look ugly because there's all these weaknesses here. It looks like Farzad just tactically blundered. Black could have played knight takes d4. So his move order looks bad. He should have played bishop e2 first with a clear advantage, carving up the white squares. I'm just questioning, Bob, that something all Americans should do. Questioning where our money goes. It goes more to paying French taxes. There you go. It's truly socialist. We're paying for the French healthcare system. I support that. That's fine. I live in Europe, technically. Yeah, so b6, rook c1, rook c8, and he missed knight takes d4. Black's in a terrible way now. Very passive. This is like just sort of desperation, trying to gasp for breath. f4, rook c1, bishop c1. Now white just has a massive space advantage. You'll never get proper answers through Sladgie. You're looking for answers? I'm asking questions. I'm not giving answers. You want answers? You want me to give answers? No, I don't give answers. Just on chess questions. Just on technical chess questions. Is g4 just a good move? What would Kosic Dragon do? What if he just played like g4? I mean, seriously. Just asking another question here. Because I'm not comfortable with this. I think there's some strong players out there that would have played g4 without a moment's hesitation. I'm not comfortable with knight h4. I'm not comfortable with knight h6. And I think this looks very bad. Chances against Grandmaster Kosic are 0 here. So I think that bishop g5 was actually a mistake. And you're lucky that white played this lame move, bishop b2. And then still, anytime you want, all day, g4 is a good move. Now we kick him out. And then the horror. The horror. It's like the heart of darkness. The horror knight. Maybe George Meyer would like this position. Really good French defense player might enjoy this for black. But for me it looks like it looks really ugly. So bishop takes c5 and then b takes c5. I mean, I guess if queen takes, right? Knight e7, what are we going to do? Or yeah, even just the end game, queen c7, rook c7 is sort of ugly. Computer I just turned on. It likes d takes. So I think this is a big question, which way white should take here. D takes, queen takes, b takes. But the way he takes this, right, he gives black these outside pawns. It's like there's a sort of source of counterplay. And all of a sudden, like, black was better a little bit down the line here. At least there's something for black to do in this position. I think there's still questions about g4. Knight e3, c4 after queen c5. Right. If you could, you might have something like that. I mean, obviously queen takes c5 is like the lowest, the least aggressive option for white, But it's like, I think he just kind of went wrong taking with the b pawn. And then this is a 2300 against Save Dog, who's rated like 1990 or something. So this is a 300 points higher rated opponent playing white in a club game. And so after rook takes, pawn takes, black is apparently winning. Look how the knights are just subtly relevant, and the bishops are not relevant. And he's just winning. It's just an incursion all over. White is overextended. It's so amazing that white didn't lose this position. Probably the most disturbing position is this. Poor Save Dog, he thought he's like winning. I mean, he probably is close to winning, but he plays this, and then queen a4, bishop takes a4, king f8. Look at this position. This is like an optical illusion here. I mean, seriously, you're playing the game, you're thinking, okay, well, I can't possibly lose. I'm up a pawn in an endgame. Hey, my king is close enough. Yeah, you're thinking, okay, well, my king is close enough. I'm in the square of the pawn. right? So there's no danger here. I'm not in any danger. I'm up a pawn. I'm in the square of the pawn. It's like bishop takes d4, knight takes d4. Oops. I mean, I could see how that could happen, you know, to pretty much anybody. Savadog just blundered the c5, c6 move, and you're like, oh my god, I can't get the king over to stop the pawn. So he had to actually sacrifice a piece now, and he's lost. And it's like, it's still not trivial, but it's only 2 pawns for a piece. And the fact that these pawns are locked on the white square doesn't really help very much either. So it looks like objectively the best try was something like g5, trying to maximize the exchanges of pawns. If we could get all 3 of these pawns traded off, like those 3 pawns, yeah, it is a pity, Jim. I mean, it's like he was winning against the 2300 and the optical illusion. I mean, I guess he messed up the game when he played, you know, knight takes d4 before. After queen takes a4, there's a mate on the back rank. So he can't play queen takes b2. So you have b3 here. And it's just over. Objectively, I think this is winning. You know? But he figured, oh, there's no way I could lose, and he actually is lost here after f6. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go over this game a little bit more quickly. I think you should try g5 here to maximize trade of pawns. I mean, theoretically, if white has just the h-pawn left, it's a draw. This is a very important position to understand. If you're able somehow to trade off these pawns, you know, take, 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 take. If white was sloppy, you know, somehow let you get these pawns. If the only pawn left is the h-pawn, with the white square bishop, right, it's the wrong color rook pawn, so it's a draw. I mean, I think that's important thing to think about if somehow he were able to trade off all the other pawns. I guess it was time pressure. Yeah, I would assume so. Savadog, when he plays me, he's always down to his increments, but he usually plays really well with the increments. He tried to get his king up closer, but it's just not enough, you can see. I mean, Farzad is an experienced player, and he is strong enough and good enough in the endgame. His endgame technique is good. And there's just no way. I guess we have bishop takes d5 here. Should be sufficient. And that's game. Alright guys, kind of long games. We're going to try to get through 10 games, if I can. So still, you know, even though he lost, I thought that Savadog put up good resistance to get a winning position against the 2300. Is a good sign. Nefedov's got a game submitted, which is something we haven't seen forever. Alright, this is game to analyze, please. Nefedov against Victor. Victor. We haven't seen a Nefedov game in ages. Am I seeing ghosts? Scandinavian. Probably not a bad choice against Nefedov. Nefedov doesn't really play... Actually, now that I think about it. Nefedov, what have you played against me in the past? I thought you played like knight c3 or something. Did you actually do this? E takes d5. What did you play against me? Oh, you after knight f6 you probably played like knight c3 or something. I get it. It probably wasn't that move order. You probably did like, you know, takes and after knight f6 something like knight c3. But black doesn't give you that option here. I mean, he just takes back with the queen on d5. Because I don't think this is such a great line for white, like knight f6, knight c3. That's sort of stupid. Like transposing to a... It's not bad for white, but it gives black equality, I think. Transposing to a kind of Aliekin variation, I think would be less good compared to other lines you could possibly play against knight f6. This doesn't punish knight f6. But nephew here played queen takes, knight c3, queen d8. I don't get this, you know. I mean, whatever. Some guy wrote a book on it. People play it. It just seems ridiculous to me. I can see queen d6. I can't really go for this queen d8. It just seems silly. So I'm not a believer in this. I think it's just rubbish. It's like a tempo wasted. White's just better. It's actually similar to... I mean, structurally it's similar to the Caro-Kann. I know people like John Bartholomew probably advocate this stuff, but... I mean, honestly, if you're going to play the Scandinavian, I think you ought to just play like queen a5 probably. Take your chances with queen a5. I mean, that's my opinion. Queen d6 is kind of sketchy, playable but sketchy, and queen d8 just seems passive, you know. It had a trend because it's just new, you know. There was some people wrote books about what's there to write books about. I mean, black's position is just kind of, it's just passive. Yeah, let's not, Bob. I think that's just sick. I'm sure that was started by one of your friends at the site that will not be named. Queen d8, knight f3, bishop g4. We'll just erase his chess history in favor of John Bartholomew. Bishop g4. Yeah, I mean, see, this is the best that black can do. Is like give up his bishop for nothing. So here, you know, I think Nefedov should just play h3. This is the point. Like, black has to give up the bishop on f3 and play this lame, you know, Leko against Sarowan. It's the same. You know what it's the same as? I realize now. It's very similar to what it reminds me of is the Fort Knox variation of the French Rubinstein. It's basically the same principle. Black goes like bishop d7, bishop c6, trades the bishop on f3, and then Yasser loses to Peter Leko, you know, in like 50 moves in a wipeout. If you play this position at the top, highest level, White's just going to have a very dominant score. I don't think that it's that easy, though, you know, for maybe non-masters to exploit White's advantage here. It's a long-term advantage of the bishop pair, a very slight kind of long-term advantage. So, but nevertheless, I mean, there probably are other ways White can play. White can probably play d4 here. And that looks reasonable. Bishop e2. I mean, it's all good. I mean, Nefedov's move is like a tad passive, but it's okay. Also, I don't mind like bishop takes bishop. If you know, if Nefi plays like knight e5 and does a bishop for bishop exchange, it's also just kind of slight space advantage for White. But look at the results suddenly, like only 4 games and all 4 were draws. And Rico Saviano couldn't win against Tim Taylor. That's not really a good sign. So Nefedov did go for knight e5. You know, it's not as good as like getting bishop for knight, but White is slightly better here. Like a 2 knights Caro-Kann. Yeah, move 11. Very similar, but it's not the same. I think it's not quite the same. Because I mean, the thing is move 11 in the 2 knights Caro-Kann. Look at the difference. Like you're playing a 2 knights Caro-Kann. e4, c6, knight c3, d5, knight f3, bishop g4. You know, let us not forget, there is a pawn on d5. Note, there's a pawn on d5. Black has a center, and a strong center. That's his whole, you know, that's his baby on d5. Hello, there's no pawn here. You know what I mean? There's no center anymore. So White is better. So what are you saying, Blovix? Dorfman advocates d4, knight f3, and c4 against Scandinavian. Yeah, I mean, it's all been tried. It's all been tried. Knight f3, d4. But I don't understand why black would prefer queen d8 to queen a5, other than just trying to avoid theory. Okay, so castles, e6, and now rook e1. I would kind of lump rook e1 into the category of almost like a cheapo. It looks like Nefedov is close to playing for cheapos. At the same time, I mean, it's hard. It looks like he's trying to set up like knight takes f7, although I don't even think that's a threat, because the black king could actually walk out here to g6. I'm not sure about rook e1. I guess that all you can do is, I'd probably just play d3 and have a slight edge. Yeah, we did your game already. Thanks, HTFP. Got to go through the games quickly today. We've got a huge backlog. Rook e1. I'm not sure where this rook belongs. You know, in some positions it might even support the f-pawn advancing. It's a kind of tough call. Oh, you did this. Nefedov is on crack. This is actually a tournament game, and you sacrificed a piece on f7. Mikhail Nefedov. Mikhail Nefedov playing Blitz or something. Mikhail Nefedov. Boldly going where no one... I wouldn't play that in a team game, Pavel. I don't want to be on your team. That's where you're sitting next to your teammate Richard Rapport, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe this guy is on my team. You know. But it's just a normal tournament game, Pavel. It's not a team game. Because then it's okay. But I definitely wouldn't do this in a team game. You're like fired from my team if you do this. Unless your name is Mikhail Tal. It is a team game. You can't do this in a team tournament, man. That's just not fair to your teammates. I mean, you have a nice solid position and you can play for a win with no risk here. I think this is just crazy. Unless your opponent is just like really, really weak and you beat him like 100 times with similar sort of sacrifices. He's just so meek that he rolls over and dies no matter what you do. I think this is an unnecessary risk. I would never play that, you know. Just be patient and beat this guy, you know, gradually with normal moves. Alright, so anyway, okay, it's interesting. But I definitely wouldn't play it in a team game. You definitely want to take less risks in team tournaments than normal games. Ask Stockfish what the best move is. Okay, Stockfish, what's the best move here? What's the best move, Stockfish? Rook d1. I love rook d1. Like, you know, disproving of your last move. Or d4. But d4 makes sense. That actually makes sense. Because black can't take, because then your sacrifice actually works. That's kind of cool. The only thing is, like, you're going to need to figure out how you're going to protect that next move. You know, even though d4 is not hanging this move, it's going to be hanging again next move. So how are we going to protect d4 this move once black castles? Becomes a question. Unless you want to go completely berserk and start sacrificing pawns wildly again. There's different views on the position of HTFP. You like it. It's a nice Caro-Kann setup. Some people would say that white just has a space advantage. So I think it depends on your perspective. Computer probably thinks white's better here. The real question would be, could you take this pawn on d4 or not? You know, how dangerous is this pawn grab? But I like this better than the sacrifice on f7. I mean, this sacrifice, it's just a positional sacrifice for development. Control of an open file. All your pieces are in the game. I would advocate this, like, any day as much better than, like, sacrificing a knight on f7. Because the variation with knight f7 leads to simplification. It's a forced line. It simplifies. I mean, if black finds the defense, then you're just, like, probably going to be slightly worse or something. Here you have the initiative for a pawn. That's okay. You know, I don't think this is a bad sacrifice. Where I think knight f7 is kind of dubious. But d4 is a cool move. All right, so here. HTFP, subscribe with Twitch Prime. Happy travels to Hungary. Well, I haven't left yet, and I'm still waiting on the deal to be finalized for my house. Once my house deal is finalized, I'll be able to hopefully buy a ticket and make committed plans to moving back to Hungary in a few weeks. Speculative piece sacrifice. And now d3. I just, you know, I don't really believe in this. But I give Nefedov credit for a feisty sacrifice. I think in general he doesn't make enough sacrifices and stuff. This is not... Is this an acerbate? Damn. Is this an acerbate game? Acerbate would never play knight takes f7. He's far more sound than Nefedov. d3, knight bd7, bishop f4, knight c5, queen e5 is a bit weird. Because I think I'm wondering about the white squares, but where to go? Over here, maybe over here. I feel like you need the queen to control the white squares. Draw. I think it was all a conspiracy theory. It was a prearranged draw. Nefedov's just messing with us. His opponent, they had some sort of Ukrainian deal going on. Alright. Conspiracy theory. Draw. I sacrifice knight on f7 for draw. That's 3 moves later. The world is better after this game. All I know is that Nefedov's teammates all collectively drew like a sigh of relief when he drew this position. That's all I know. Okay. I don't think Nefedov's been playing that much, you know. This is a rusty Nefedov making unsound sacrifices. So Bysonov is next. We're never going to get to all the games, just prepare yourselves if you're at the end of the list. Bysonov. You don't have such an accent. You have an accent. I'm just bad at trying to imitate it. Okay. Hello, our over-the-board season has started. I'd like to submit my first game. I was outgraded by some 40 points, which is a lot in ECF. That's not like ELO points. That's like a lot. And I think I started well, played the wrong plan in the middle game, and started to wobble when the game turned tactical. Okay. Bysonov is white. He's playing a 200 ELO guy. 200 ECF. Wow, that's pretty solid. So black is basically... isn't black basically like a master? 200? I'm like 211 or something. I'm underrated because I haven't played that many ECF games. I'm basically a little underrated. Next time it would be my game versus John. Next time, if there is a next time. King Crusher is 210. Are you serious? I think my ECF rating is 211. Are you serious? Is that right? That's embarrassing. All right. That'd be embarrassing. I got one more ECF rating point than King Crusher. I'm going to appeal the rating commission for some sort of adjudication. Rating adjudication. D4, F5. Knight F3. Roman advocated playing Knight F3, and then he said like after E6 we should play Bishop G5. This is one of his worst Gigiashvili's sort of stupidest suggestions that I actually tried in some games. It's just totally harmless. He was even advocating playing like H4 here, which I think is bordering on sort of a little bit dubious. Looks like Korchnoi played it, but with no success, as you can see. But anyway, that's just neither here nor there. I mean, this is not what happens in the game. Knight F6, G3, G6. So it's going to be a Leningrad Dutch. You inform me when he surpasses me. Thank you. It doesn't matter. It's cool. I don't count my ECF rating as a real rating. I mean, it's based on the last time I played there was like 2005 or something. It's a rating that hasn't been, you know. Actually, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised. I never had a really, really bad tournament. It's kind of weird that it's as low as it is. I'm not sure how the rating system there works, but I never had like a really, really bad tournament. I've played maybe Hastings 2 or 3 times, one tournament in York. I never bombed like in a tournament in England. And I played the Isle of Man. I also didn't bomb there. I mean, I've played maybe like five or 6 ECF tournaments. I never had a really bad... It's a little hard to believe that King Crusher's FIDE is 2346, Bob. Are you sure about that? How could King Crusher have a 2346 ELO rating? FIDE rating? Dude, he would be a FIDE master. Bob, I think you're crazy. There's no way the King Crusher is 2346 FIDE. Why would he be a CM if he was 2346? He would be a FIDE master. Instantly, dude. He would run out and get the title like yesterday. He wouldn't be a CM. I think Bob's research is a little bit suspicious. A little bit sketchy, dude. Your research. Bishop G7, castles, B3. I like this system, and I think that, ironically, Bisonov probably played this against me. I think I played the Dutch against you. Did I play the Dutch against you? I almost never played the Dutch. HTFP, yeah, sure. I mean, it seems like, why not? As long as you don't have to pay money for it, HTFP. I think if you have to pay money to the USCF or something, I would forego it, you know? Honestly, Bob, I don't remember what my latest rating is. I mean, I dropped like down to... It doesn't matter. Like if I'm under 2400, I really don't... It doesn't make a difference to me. If it's 2330 or 2395. I mean, anything under 2400 is kind of embarrassing. As long as it doesn't go like... As long as it doesn't go under 2300. For me, it doesn't make a difference if it's 2301 or 2399. You know, I suck. I mean, basically, if I get back to playing competitively, I'd like to get it back over 2400. But it really doesn't matter at that point. You know, if it goes under 2300, it's like embarrassing. But for me, it's like all the same if it's 2301 or 2399. So King Crusher does literally have one rating point lower than me in ECF grade, it looks like. So this, I still don't understand why my ECF isn't better though, because again, I've had like I've never had a really bad result in an ECF tournament. Maybe I never had a really, really great result either, you know, but never really bad. But I haven't played in the last 14 years. C6, C4. So here the c4. It's notable that knight on bd2. There's really no rush to play c4, I think, in this position. The ECF ratings are not inflated as far as mine is concerned. They were inflated about 10 years ago. I don't think so. I think they were deflated. So c4. Yeah, I mean, I would play knight of bd2. You've got flexibility to maybe go to c4. You're playing for e4. I guess there's a school of thought that would say that here white is going to play like c4 and put the knight on c3. No, and that's the question now. If you look here, it's not a coincidence that knight c3 is more popular than knight bd2. But at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't make the position easy to play. I mean, when you place your knight on c3, you're placing your knight on a more aggressive square where it controls 2 central points as opposed to 1. But at the same time, you're actually placing your knight on a square where it's interfering with your own bishop on b2. So that's why there's a disparity between, you know, knight c3 and knight bd2 being chosen, but knight c3 is far more active. I don't know, you know. Knight on bd2, I can see this move. Erdos, who's a good friend of mine, Artemiev, Grishuk, lots of good players have played this. Viktor Nefedov. Queen c2. Bishop d7. a3, keeping the knight off b4. Rook c8. Now, rook c8, it seems strange having played a5, you know, for black to move the rook now, I think. Oh, Erdos played against Kamsky. That's like fire on board, right? I mean, Victor has gotten a lot more dynamic than he used to be. He used to be an absolute rock. I mean, that was his problem. He couldn't get the GM title because he was too solid. He would like win 4 games and draw 7. You know, that would be like, for a long time, that was his Grandmaster tournament result. He would like miss the GM norm by half a point because he would literally go undefeated like +4 in a field where he needed to be like +5. And then he started getting a little bit more dynamic. But he really is, you know, he surpassed like 2660, I think, at one point. But he was always like one of my favorite Hungarian players. I mean, still is. So he played a boring draw. Well, I mean, what do you expect with Kamsky, you know? Was Erdos black? I mean, what are you going to do if Kamsky plays the London against you? I think a draw is a normal result. You know, try to get Kamsky to a tiebreak. Erdos needs to try to get Kamsky to a blitz tiebreak. He's really, you know, he's younger than Kamsky. He's a very good blitz player. I think he has decent chances. You know, he did knock out like Basim Amin from the World Cup. Was it like last year? So he's capable. He could certainly beat Kamsky. A3, Rook C8, kind of a weird move. Knight E1. This is a great plan. So F4, you know. Great play by white so far, but is there a need to play F4 here? Because I think our standard plan is to try to play E4 in this position. And it's always very double-edged. You're going to play E4. Black's obviously trying to play E5, and you're trying to play E4, and it's like, who's first? But this move first would have stopped E5. And I guess that's the first order of business. We just play knight d3. You're coming with the other rook over to E1. And you're busting them in the middle with E4. And Botvinnik is looking down from the eternal afterlife, really admiring white's position. Right. I mean, f4 also creates a possible knight fork at e3. Having said that, it's not an irresponsible move. I mean, it opens up the rook. It restricts e5. Obviously, you have to be careful of knight in. You know, knight in here. But I think the first priority would be just continue this Petrosian knight maneuver, basically, which is standard in the Stonewall as well. And then rook e1 and e4, and you're just smoking him. I think that black actually maybe should have played rook b8. You know, at least, I don't know. There's nothing going on here with the rook. I don't know what I'm analyzing. What am I analyzing? Oh, this was analysis line. Okay, f4. Knight g4. Which helps support e5, by the way. Queen c3. And I'm not surprised he played e5. Oops, that's hanging. But white could get a little discoordinated if the queen, Asterbate and I were looking at a position earlier today, with the queen out there. It could get to be the twilight zone with the queen on a weird position. But that's why the rook should be on a8 probably. Having played a5, you don't want your rook to be irrelevant on c8, and it would indirectly protect the pawn on a5. This is a direct result of rook c8. Now you've got to look at other moves. Queen, you know, queen d3, that's awkward. Rook f3, that's very awkward. So, okay, here, 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 and here. This looks good, you know, it looks good. You've got him pinned. You're threatening to win the e-pawn now. What happens if knight h6, pawn takes pawn, knight f7? You can just hold on to your pawn indefinitely with knight d3. So this certainly looks good. You don't have to take the pawn either, right? Now the computer found some sort of resource here for black, but it's pretty hard to see. I mean, this apparently involves a piece sacrifice. I guess like take. I mean, obviously most players aren't gonna calculate that far. But I would really point to f4 being your suspect move in the first place. Another question here as to which way you should take. By taking with the queen, you may leave yourself in a situation where you're facing long-term pressure on the e-file. You know, queen takes e5, it seems like on the surface to be the safer move at first glance. But when you think about it more, you know, maybe if you just take with the pawn, you can lock him down. I'm a little concerned about knight h5. But again, I mean, I'm concerned about knight h5 because like pawn takes pawn, knight h5, you know, this pawn is kind of a pain here and it's hard to protect. If you play knight d3, you get hit by knight takes g3. But anyway, I mean, I guess this is coming. Your pawn structure looks kind of squishy. You know, I would be a little afraid that something's gonna kind of collapse at some point. If you take the other way, I'm afraid there's just backwardness along this file here. I can't really understand, again, the rook c8 thing. What in the world is the rook on c8 doing on c8? Bishop takes g7, take with the king. So he has a little bit of compensation for his sacrificed pawn, right? King f2. Objectively, it's not enough. You know, in the hands of Erdos Victor, this would be 1-0. Or Kamsky. They're actually well suited to play each other. Two fantastic endgame grinders. Head to head. Knight d3, knight e6, knight e5, and you're just basically winning. All you need to do is get rid of this backward pawn. Now this looks a little bit reckless, but I like putting the pawn on a dark square. I don't like unprotected pieces like the knight on d2. You thought f takes was better in the game? So he just sacrificed a piece here, he goes ballistic. I mean, endgames are not really a great place to be sacrificing a piece for 2 pawns, especially when you're down a pawn already, but you know what I mean? I mean, he's sacrificing a piece for 2 pawns, he's down a pawn already, so now he has 1 pawn for a piece. You know, I guess he was hoping for something stupid. I really don't know what, you know? I mean, this is pretty obvious. It's just over. This is total desperation. I still don't see a problem here. Oh, you're gonna face g4. So knight g2 and you just lose a piece back. Knight takes g2, king g2. If you take with the king, it's g4. MTV unplugged. This is defending the g4. I mean, this is a pretty serious situation. You're just up a piece for 1 pawn at this point. And black just played g5. I mean, you're facing rook takes e2 check. That's the problem. You can't really play knight takes d7. So naturally, that's why you played e3. But is there another move? Is there another move here? How about like rook d1? Why don't we just play rook d1 and threaten to take? And still, it's going to be weird. Even if we could do like rook d7 check, rook d7, knight d7, rook e2 check, king g1, rook takes g2 check, we start dropping all our pieces. I think we're still going to be up a piece at the end of the day, though. Even if he takes e2 and takes on g2. So I think like something like this. Let's see. Should be sufficient to win. The old comments. Anyway, all right, so it got out of control. g5. This is a blunder. And now it looks like you're dropping the piece back. I don't know. If I'm him, I mean, obviously the thing is, like, you're figuring knight takes e3, rook e1, rook takes d7, rook takes e3, and you're up a piece. So what's the deal here? Knight takes d7, g4. If knight takes e3, why is this okay for black according to the engine? Wow, he just plays f4, and apparently this is something. I mean, it's a little bit hard to believe. That is unbelievable. He's down a piece here for only 2 pawns. I would be very surprised to play this position over the board and find out that the computer says that this is almost okay or completely okay for black. It's only 2 pawns for a piece. Although black is well organized, you know. I would assume I'm just clearly better here with white. So that's impossible, really, for anybody to see. So the actual game was g4. And apparently this is a blunder. But clearly you can see this move. I mean, that's just devastating. That's not hard to find. If you just don't panic here, I mean, you could easily find 95 is it's over. You know, he's just really down a piece for nothing. You take here, but then there's nothing left. I mean, his whole position is in shambles. So that was really maybe time pressure or something. Now he's just eating a lot of pawns. And now it's a mess. And you're lucky if you're not worse now. This is dangerous. I mean, he has like an outside pawn and a rook and a lot of open files against a rook and two knights. I would be very scared. This h-pawn is definitely not something you want to see. These open files and h-pawns, you know, against two knights. It's a draw, objectively. There's just not that many pawns left. It should be a draw, I would assume. And the reason it's a draw is because neither side has enough advantage to be able to win. It's like simple sort of basic logic. If black isn't, you know, better enough that he should be able to win, and white isn't better enough that he should be able to win, then it's a draw by default. I mean, this has to be a draw. But you can't play passively, you know, and rook e1 looks passive to me. I would definitely be on like rook h1 or rook b1 or trying to get more active. Rook e1 looks extremely passive. I don't like your rook here. I mean, you should try to get it like to a distant sort of position and start playing actively with the rook. His rook move is also awkward. There you go. I mean, that looks like a good move at least. You gave him the stuff. It's a draw now. You got to be a little bit careful here because your king is cut off, and I don't think you did this optimally. Like the computer says, rook b8. Yeah, this is tedious. It's probably still a draw, but you have to defend perfectly. I mean, objectively, if we go back here, I can kind of empathize with your decision. Maybe you could wait and try to clarify the queen side, trade some pawns first. But now it's like really simplified. So I'm just a little concerned that if you lose a tempo or two here, you could lose this pretty easily. You got to be careful. This is not trivial. So white has to play perfectly to draw. It's easy to see the computer says rook c7 is a draw, cutting off the king. Okay. You found it, luckily. Now I assume like you're threatening rook c5, which is a big problem. So he can't play like king d3. You're also threatening to come over and equalize that way. So he just makes a essentially passive move, rook d5, and now you can just approach, and it's a draw. That was lucky. It was close. Okay, guys, long games today. We've got an hour and 15 minutes left in the stream. We've only got through 4 so far. We're going to try to get through at least 10 games. So Ludwig is up next. Is Ludwig here? Ludwig, are you with us? Ludwig. Oh my god. Ugh, my eyes hurt. Is he the one that always does this? Can you please analyze this game? I have played against and very good grammar, and Hungarian I am. Is that correct though? And Hungarian. I've played against an Hungarian. That's not right, right? I mean, normally you say "n" before a letter, a word that starts with H, right? But you don't use it in that case. A Hungarian I am. I understand his intention, and managed to win. He first blundered after a little tactic. He fought on despite having a disadvantage, and then resigned after another blunder. So your first win against an I am on a rapid game, 15 plus 10. Torzo Attila. It's Torzo Attila. Nice. Am I going to be able to copy this mess? And actually, is it gonna stick? Is he in the stream? Torzo Attila. What if I copy this? Would that possibly go? I don't think this is gonna. It's not gonna work. That is ugly. Oh, it worked. Wow. I didn't think it would go through. All right. Yes, I know Torzo. We know Torso. He also... Bob loves him. Last time I played... Yeah, Torso tortured me last time. But I think I'm the favorite in a match with Attila. See if we can find any backers for a match. I think I'm a heavy favorite. All right. Banana Eater. We were talking about Terza eating bunches of bananas at the board. He is a nice guy. But I did not have fun the last time I played him with black. Thanks again to Mr. Slowhand Grind with 1,000 bits donated. Bill just donated 250. So we're looking at this game here. Can you guys remind me what color? We can just cheat and see who won. Okay. So Ludwig is white. Torso plays e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop e3, d6, h3, castles, c3, knight a5. This is a refreshing change. We don't see a lot of classical Spanish. Bishop c2, c5, d4, queen c7. Classic kind of Chigorin line here. And then b4. B4, man, I've never seen that before. That is new. So apparently Yoshi Pinter played that. One of my friends. No, Pinter was black. Okay. Yeah, Yoshi is an expert with black. He's actually trained like Zoltán Almásy and a lot of the Hungarian GMs who also played the black side of the... He was a trainer for the Hungarian team for many years. But b4, yeah, I've never seen anyone play b4. I never considered playing b4 in my life. It looks like you're playing on you're playing on black's side of the board when you play this move. It kind of goes against principles. So, I mean, I think that a lot of people here are playing all different systems for black. The Chigorin is back in fashion. And, you know, it's funny because, like, for 20 years, like, nobody played knight a5. It was like, nobody. I mean, between, like, 1987 and basically 2007, I mean, it's just completely rarely played. But it seems like it totally came back into fashion. I've noticed in the last 10 years. But b4, I hate the move b4. Just seems like you're going against like classical principles. You know, so as you can see, knight bd2 is normal. d5 is justified because although this might be a mistake in some systems, the idea is that black doesn't have c6 to try to counterpunch against the center. His only chance to break against the center is the Arsenal fan idea of f5. But here f5, it's a little bit more principled than in that position where I was telling Arsenal fan he can't do it in the Marazzi. I mean, this is obviously a break here. Your only break, essentially. If anybody knows, you know, the famous like world championship match between Karpov and Kasparov, where Karpov was black and Zaitsev were Lopez lines. I mean, a lot of times like f5 was like a critical break. It's obviously going to be very double-edged if black plays for f5 because he could lose on the white squares pretty easily. So I think that d5 is principled and knight bd2 is principled. But b4 for me is just like weird, you know? Some kind of weird sideline. Terzo does seem fairly well-versed theoretically. I don't think that he's a pushover in the opening. You know, and he's very... I don't know him that well. I've played him like probably 4 or 5 games, but they're all spread out over a very long period of time. Basically, I don't know his style very intimately. I'm going to go out on a kind of limb and say that I think that his weakness is probably tactics. You know, he's got good opening knowledge, probably a decent endgame technique, good sensible general positional play, but maybe, you know, tactically he can be had. We all have our weaknesses. Takes. Knight c4. We're all going for GM. Knight bd2. You see, like, white has won no games in this position almost. It's hard to beat the row Lopez. It's funny, though, that the engine does think that white has an edge here. So maybe Ludwig's onto something. Ludwig is a subscriber. Are you? Knight takes d2. Bishop takes d2. Queen takes d2. So queen takes d2 with the idea of coming bishop b2. Uber driver he's late to the stream, but he got his submission in time, which I can't say for all of you. Get your game submissions on in time. So this was cool, but d5 now kind of surprised me. Like, I understand you're cutting down his bishop on b7, but I don't really see any reason to play d5 at this moment because, I mean, e4 is covered. So I would kind of wait. If you play bishop b2, you put pressure on his e5 pawn. What you're hoping for is that black caves in. Uber Driver's looking at the engine. I'm going to turn it off so Uber Driver stops cheating. Paul Kiris, Uber Driver. Paul Kiris is one of the best, like, black side of the Spanish players of all time. He would play the Chigorin. I mean, this idea of playing countering d5 at some point, yeah. But my gut instinct is to play bishop b2. But Ludwig might be right. I'm a little concerned about rook c8 coming down and hitting us here. And also invasions of the queen, simplifying with like queen c3. Bang. You see, he played knight d7. What happens if he grabs the c file here? Why is he not taking the c file in this position? I mean, so there's 2 points, right? You're hitting c2, and you're threatening to be invasive with like queen c3. That concerns me. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. So black has the best move. He played knight d7 according to the engine, which is very surprising. I really thought it would be get to the c file. So Terzo playing the engine move, knight d7. This gives black the f5 break, potentially. Right, Uber Driver, you're just really a spoiler today. He's in full spoiler mode. Uber Driver, you can host a stream. Knight d7, knight b6, knight c4. I can't even keep up with him. Knight d7, knight b6, knight c4. Yeah, I mean, that's another idea. I'm just kidding, man. I don't mind if you're a spoiler, as long as it's not a live game. That's fine. If you beat me to the punch, it's okay. Knight c4 is definitely an idea. f5 is an idea. But I was surprised because I really thought he would jump on the c file first. He's not in any hurry, apparently. But I want to point out, if anything goes wrong for white here, this move, keeps the tension in the center, so it keeps black honest. Knight d7 now, he can still play knight d7, but he would be, tied down to e5. Musings with knight h5. I mean, the thing is, like, Uber Driver, Ludwig took with the queen on d2, so, I mean, the main reason to take with the queen on d2 is to put the bishop on b2. I'm like waiting for him to do that, like, when are we going to play bishop b2? When are we going to play bishop b2? Otherwise, what's the point of queen d2? Just to get in the way of our bishop on c1? Here, 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 here. And this is opening up a can of worms on the queen side. Because this pawn, that could become a target. But Terzo knows that there's no a3 here, so he's basically okay. There's a3 anyway. just to prove me wrong, but all right. You can't take back with the pawn. And taking back with the pawn will take away the c5 outpost. This is extremely awkward for white to put the rook on e3. I mean, it looks like black is on the verge of allowing a devastating tactic like knight takes e5, d takes e5, d6 check. Let's see what happens. Rook fb8. That's... You know what I mean? If I'm Terzo here, I mean, my intention would be to play for f5. I would consider playing it directly because this is not so clear. You know, I mean, you could take on e4. There may be some complications. Bishop f6 winning by force. I mean, I don't know, you know. Yeah, f5 is the best move. Terzo plays rook b8. I mean, if you give up on f5, like, where's your counterplay? If you want to prepare it, play king h8. You know, if you're afraid of bishop, play king h8, you know. And now white has to seriously consider playing g4. And it's a whole different game, you know. White would weaken the king side to restrict f5. Black might even try to play it anyway. Because I think this king is not... The white king isn't really set up ideally for the situation. I mean, you're playing like king h2, bang. You know, black seems faster to me. So I think Terzo just totally missed the goalpost here. I mean, rook b8. Where's your break, man? You know, f5. It's fundamental. Bishop a2, bishop c8. This is a good move, though. You know, I like playing f5. Maybe he found it. Rook c3, rook a4, queen b1. Uh-oh. Defended by tactics. Ludwig's pawn on e4 is about to fall. Oh. I'm sorry? Excuse me? Did I say he had a weakness tactically? I mean, what? Can you just take here? Like, is that a free piece? Queen takes e4, knight takes e4, rook takes c7. Well, that's a whole rook. I mean, that is ridiculous. So Terzo just blundered. I mean, he's got to try for f5, but he may not have it, you know, because he's got queen b1. So what's black's move here? Maybe like queen where? You know what I mean? He missed the f5 moment. Engine says b4. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So Ludwig was a little lucky that Terzo blundered this. And now it's just a piece up. That's a good idea. Trading queens is a good idea. Yeah, here you gotta see that diagonal. I mean, that was sitting there for a while. Although, I mean, like knight takes e5, bishop f6, like another line, you have to be a little bit careful. There's counter tactics, like here, etc. Trading pieces, right? Fortunately, like e4, bishop f6, e takes f3, queen e8, mate. It's a little scary, but we should win this. Now, this move may be a mistake. Can white play bishop c4 here? That looks pretty strong. I think we're going to mop up after bishop there. But I don't want to let him push b4. It's speed chess, yeah. I mean, this is kind of a fast time control. This was a big mistake to let him get a pawn to b4, though. You definitely shouldn't give him that even chance, you know. Luckily, it didn't matter. White's just up a piece. Mate. Mate is mate. So, good lesson. b4 a strange move in the opening, but it actually looks better than I thought. Good side variation to kind of get out of book, Ludwig. Acerbate's up kind of late today. No Grob opening. No, we've got something else for you. That's disturbing. Acerbate Benoni defense. Citizen. Whatever that means. Congratulations on a win against an international master. The first one for Ludwig, he said. d4, knight f6, c4, c5. And now White just decided, I'm going to randomly play knight c3. C takes d4. I'll tell you what happened here. Acerbate was in like auto move mode. You know, he's moving too fast. So he just like sort of pre-moved or was just already prepared. His next move was going to be e6 on any normal move. Acerbate, he's giving you equality. Like, here, have equality, like right away. I mean, to be fair, it's not automatic equality, though, because if we look at the center, I mean, White still has this bear down, I'll call it, on d5. I mean, after queen takes d5, d4, you're gaining a whole tempo, though. Karadzica actually played this with White in a game, in a real game, and Belen Lopez and Drazic. Okay, Drazic is a Serbian grandmaster who plays a lot of really weird openings. Like, he just kind of messes around. He basically like sells books and plays tournament games at the same time. I don't think he's that serious about it. Although he's a good player, he plays ridiculous openings. Belen Lopez also famous for playing really strange openings. But it's funny that Karadzica would play this with White, because he's a really good player. Anyways, what do we do after like queen d1? Well, actually, queen d2 was played in some games. The idea of b3, bishop b2. Karadzica is trying to make this work. He's trying to profit from the queen move, essentially. It's not stupid. This is almost like a reverse. It's almost like a reverse Sicilian of some sort. You might as well at least attempt to gain some sort of profit. The Uber Driver's queen h4 is more like a, it reminds me more like a dunce type of thing, but I think it's maybe in the dunce opening, but here it looks a little bit too much. It's definitely a thought. This queen d2 looks best. Trying to, but Acerbate just ignored it. I mean, okay. So White obviously should play d5. Or if he doesn't want to play d5, he has lots of good moves. Knight f3, e3. You know, there's tons of reasonable moves. Instead, he plays bishop g5. And since all good Hungarian players are the only games in the database, Jurkos against Cesar, Parkani Attila. Parkani Attila actually played Benoni against me, ironically. And Csaba Cesar is actually one of the better Blumenfeld players that's been playing the Blumenfeld for years. When I researched that opening for my video series on the Blumenfeld, some of Csaba's games were actually in there. But this bishop g5 does seem suspicious. He's still not addressing this issue of what's he going to do. Do Hungarians love Benonis? The only thing I could say is that there was a player named Pereni Bela who died tragically in a car accident in 1989, who was an IM. He had a like kind of cult following. He played the Benoni and the Dragon, and a lot of people from his generation followed his opening repertoire. So I would say maybe there is a little bit of a following to Pereni, in terms of Benoni still with Hungarian players, but not that much. I mean, actually, if you look at Hungarian chess players, probably like one of the biggest influences with Black was obviously Adorian, who did so much analysis of the Sveshnikov. I mean, look at Leko. Leko came from the Adorian school, essentially one of his early trainers. So Leko, the early Leko, was playing the Sveshnikov and Grunfeld. You know, Sveshnikov and Grunfeld. Those were the Adorian openings that were heavily influential. Anyway, that's your Hungarian opening school for the 80s and 90s. Bishop g5, dubious. H6, Astrobay taking it easy on his opponent. Refuses to play c takes d4. I don't want to destroy your center. That's all right. I think Astrobay is hanging back, hoping for d5. You know, hoping that his opponent just like drops a pawn to the knight takes d5 trick. It's almost like he's waiting for that. There's nothing wrong with what he did here, but he really is supposed to take on d4. So he's just waiting, and now he plays d6. It's fine. It's a little passive, and I think it's bordering on turning into a Sicilian now. Still, there's no d5 because of knight takes d5. I would assume. Wow, this is actually, my God, look at that. Have you ever seen this happen? Bishop takes queen a4 check. Oh, Uber driver. Queen h4 is a good idea. You're right. Yeah, that's funny. I've never seen that before. That's really funny. Very strange tactic there. Knight d5 doesn't work anymore. So white should play d5. And there's actually a Golod Vitali game. That's funny. So forget about knight takes d5. Good job you didn't do that. Oh no, he didn't. He played e4. Astrobay plays the Sicilian. No. Dude, you gotta play c takes d4 now. You can't let him overrun you. You gotta play this hedgehog, or whatever it is, after knight takes here. Then you have the proverbial sort of knight takes e4 calculations to make. Can I do knight takes h4, knight takes e4, bishop e7, knight c3, bishop d8, knight d1, and your head starts to swim, and you don't know, like, if this is good or not. You know, you have to calculate like 10 moves deep to see if knight takes e4 actually works. It almost never works. Like, my experience is that this tactic only works like 1 out of 10 cases, that it's actually good for black. But you always have to like go through the motions of calculating it out. Of course, white could take with the queen. He likes taking. He obviously likes queen takes d4. So here, knight d7. And this is the problem with Astrobay's position. He just ignores e5. You had a million chances to destroy his center and you didn't. And now white's just got a clear space advantage. Fishing pole. And then white's just like, okay, hey, you could have my pawn. So obviously the only way to protect e5 is queen e2. I mean, you could play queen d6. But actually that allows this. So never mind. You have to play queen e2 here. But the knight is just getting trapped. So what's black going to do? You have two options. Option A, to stay with your knight for the rest of your life with h5. Option A. Option B, sacrifice your knight for a new set of pawns or something like this. I don't know. Yeah, not a lot of options here. f6. Option B, Play f6. Sacrifice your pawn structure for love. No, seriously. Acerbate, you gotta just not let him play e5. This is already awful, but luckily you got out of it. And once Acerbate gets out of trouble, he's usually very efficient, I found. Fishing expedition. Instead of just a principled move here like rook d8, he plays queen h4, leaving the rest of his pieces behind. And that's just, this deserves to be punished. No respect for development and greed. Material greed. The 7 deadly chess sins. b6, knight b3, and bishop b7. And I mean, Acerbate's now got pieces connected, all the pieces in the game. I think this is even better than being up a pawn. Frankfully. Frankfully. I said frankfully. Is frankfully a word? Frankfurter. Frankfully. Good God, man. Acerbate's playing the Owen defense, finally. Oh, this is sick. He played that. Oh, hello. How are you doing? How about rook f1? Let's just finish it now. Put yourself out of your misery with rook f1. Creative trolling. I think he's just, you know. This is even better. Yeah. How do you decide like where to mate him on G2 or H1? It's a little more aesthetic, the H1. But G2 somehow seems more decisive. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. Warnacki, we've got 45 minutes left. Warnacki's up next. I'm going to get to as many games as I can, but we're not going to get to everybody. I'm just warning you now. Thursday stream submission on Ponder Arena. Thanks, Acerbate, for the game. It was fun. On Ponder Arena, I had this game with Black against Hazite, Hungarians. In the end, I resigned after 3 blunders in succession. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about Hazite's identity. It may or may not be someone that I know. Too many Hungarian chess players to keep track of, frankly. They're plentiful. I mean, I had at one point I was like living on a street with like 2 or 3 other IMs on the same street. You know what I mean? I mean, you like walk down the street, there's another international master. You know, you go to the store, there's another IM. You know, it was like only in Budapest. I mean, can you do that? Like here, I live in a region where like I'm the strongest chess player ever in history, like for hundreds of miles around. You know, I'm like living in Budapest, so I can't even like walk to the vegetable market without like running into a higher rated player or something. You know, e4, knight c6, d4. That's people ask me, why did you move to Hungary? It's like by population, you know, density, probably one of the strongest chess playing countries in the world. I don't know where Benko lived. I mean, he lived in Budapest. I only met him at like the chess federation. I never met him like on the street or something. He might have lived like out of the center. I'm not really sure. I never went to his apartment or something. Uber driver. D4, D6, F4. So F4 is a little bit unusual, but probably very playable. It's actually Blobix's friend, Tunisian Grandmaster Slim Belkhodia, Parkani Attila against Jula Mester, sneaking another Hungarian game in there. There's more like games from Hungary in the database. Maybe it's just because I live there. I think about it all the time, but I swear there's like more games in the lichess database played in Hungary than any other country. Knight f6 is a bad move, probably. I mean, I imagine you're just walking into e5 here, Acerbate style. I think, unless you have some sort of trick, e5, take, queen d4, e5, bishop g4, e5, bishop g4, Queen d3. This looks suspicious to me. Stephen Muhammad actually did this with black. That guy disappeared. Probably because of this game. Probably banned him from chess because he played knight f6. I played him in 2003. I haven't seen any reference to him since then. Okay, but seriously, yeah, this looks ugly for black. How can you do this? Oh my god, there's a trick. Wait, what? Wow, you can actually do this? Oh my god. We learn something new every day. This is ridiculous. Queen h4 check. Well, we're a little ahead in development. Oh man, so obviously this loses to queen e4 check, so you have to play king d2 now. And that doesn't look healthy. Wow. So knight f6 is playable. So this is like a trap. e5, de5, and black's winning. That is cool. Not winning, but obviously like this endgame is better for black because the king loses its right to castle. It's like a good Pierce or something. There's some insane variations here. Wow. Well, I guess we're not going to ban Stephen Muhammad from chess for knight f6. It's not that bad. Knight f6. All right. Doesn't notice me, but coffee does so. That's nice. What's up, HTFP? Doesn't notice you? You gifted a tier 1 sub to Luana. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Luana, good to see you too. Sorry, HTFP. It's just that we have such the backlog with the games. I kind of stopped reading the chat because I'm really trying to get in as many games as I can before we run out of time. So I do appreciate your gift sub. Gita B. I love this name Gita B because it's BBB. We have our joke, you know. Gita B. Choice B. Conda says hi. BBB. D5. This is actually stronger than E5 apparently, but I don't mind playing this for black. I mean, it's very normal to like play knight C6 and retreat the knight back to B8. Yeah, this is worthwhile. I mean, you don't encounter F4 very often in this position though. I mean, in my experience, you could play this for the rest of your life, you know, and you probably only get one game where someone actually played F4 because there are just too many moves I could possibly play here. I've played this opening, I don't know, 100 times with black, and I think I could probably, I'm sure like I faced F4 once or twice, you know, but it's literally like 1 or 2% of the games that you would play this position with black where someone would actually play F4. It's funny. Anyway, good job by you to find knight F6. Here, knight B8. So another Muhammad game. He actually beat Cyrus Lakdawala going back to 1995. Who's the favorite there? I mean, Cyrus was 2,500 USCF. He's a solid IM. A little stronger than Muhammad, who was actually Stephen Booth. He changed his name when he adopted Islam, I guess. Originally Stephen Booth. When you get to change your name, you can like erase all your games in the database. Subtly, no one knows about your games with your old name. They just know, you know, your new name. I'm going to change my name legally so that no one can look up my games. All right, bishop d3, e6 or c6. c6 hits from the side, you know. e6 is more developmental. It gives you bishop e7, but you normally want to attack with c6, chipping away at the center from the flank. Thank you guys for joining me. Again, thanks for the donations. Hello to Gita B. Luana, our new subscriber. Stuk, I didn't mention hello. So e6 is okay. How are we planning on recapturing here? With the bishop or with a pawn? White's a little overextending. Obviously, white has no fear of moving pawns. We've seen that already. Hazite. But basically, Warnaki, when you play e6, I don't see how you can play e5. I just don't see how you can play e6 and play e5 the next move. I mean, it's totally inconsistent. You know, you're just losing a tempo. There's got to be something better than losing a tempo. I do admit that after this, though, you have a kind of bad-looking Benoni. Maybe you could even do this. I mean, it's not that ridiculous, you know. And if this capture, I probably just take with a knight, get my pieces out, forget about, you know, structure, but just want to get the pieces out. White's a little overextended. So now I think that white has significant space advantage here. I don't like takes for white because this bishop is restricted, and we don't want that. We don't want... Whenever you make a move, you got to think about the consequences of what that move does in terms of not only, you know, it's like poker. Like bad poker players who are beginners think about in terms of just what cards they have. You know, they're not thinking about in terms of the opponent's cards. It's the same thing in chess. Like people who are weak players are only thinking in terms of like what their move does for their pieces. They're not thinking about what the move they play does for their opponent's pieces. So Hazite here, he's thinking, well, this opens the bishop's diagonal and it opens the f-file for me, right? But a strong player is thinking more like, well, what does this do for my opponent? When you play f takes e5, you know, you're liberating the bad bishop out to c5. I mean, this is the most significant real effect of this move, and it's actually in black's favor. It's most notable in like the Sicilian defense, in any kind of Scheveningen or some kind of Sicilian where the bishop is blocked in. So the three things that happen here, right? I mean, f takes e5, it opens the f-file, it opens his bishop on this diagonal, and it opens the bishop on this diagonal. But the one that's the most significant is this, because that bishop's coming out like really effectively here. And immediately white plays bishop g5, which I guess, you know, it's not that bad of a move. You know, you do pin the queen. There's a wide range of moves here for black. I would even consider like queen d6, a little time consuming, c6, bishop c5. I wonder how Asterbate would play this position. h6. You have a plethora of moves, and white cannot afford to give up the dark square bishop here, under no circumstances. And after bishop e7, he's facing the threat of knight takes d5, like Asterbate had the tactic in the other game. When I will not get to that game, it's I'm already like gonna miss like 3 or 4. It's too late. But next week, just make sure you submit a game, you know, a few days before the stream, or at least a day or two before the stream, and you'll have time to get it in. So we're not going to get to all the games we have already, even before your game. Try to submit the games, you know, in advance, you know, at the maximum of 1 week, so we don't get backed up. But bishop takes f6, this is a horrifying move, you know, for white. It's like white has no dark square control now. The dark squares are just a vacuum all over the place. Black is better, in my opinion. Let's see what Stockfish says. You know, give it some time, and maybe Stockfish will come around. Right now, it's claiming that white has an advantage of 0.3. But I think this dark square control that black has, you know, it's definitely enough compensation. The computer likes the space that white has with these pawns. I still would rather be black here. I just know from experience, the space is not as easy to play as it is to play against the weak squares in the position. Very few people are good at playing with space advantage. Castles, c6, this is a great move. You're highlighting the dark square weaknesses. Now you just need to get your pieces out. White does have a protected passed pawn, essentially, on d5, so that's the T word, which I don't want to say. White has a T word in this position based on the d5 pawn. Knight c3 and then a6. I did look at this game, maybe when you played it, or I was following it, I don't remember. I think that a6, it's inconsistent and slow. I actually would like to put my knight on a6 here. What you got is very similar to a 4 pawns attack King's Indian. Now you want to make sure that you maintain control of these dark squares at all price. So, for example, you have to be careful. If you play a5, if white can play c5, that could be a problem. I mean, if you can't get that square back, okay, you're in deep trouble. And now white's space advantage really takes control of the situation. You cannot let these key squares fall out of your control. So a5 is not good enough. Maybe queen b6 check, and I'm not even sure we want to take this pawn, because you can try it, you know, the pawn grab. This is actually probably fine, just free pawn. Thank you very much. Or you could just simply play maybe like knight a6 and try to get your pieces out. Mark Hebden, who is a longtime King's Indian player, has a particular strategy that I love. He uses sometimes in the sort of positions where he'll actually maneuver his knight like to c7 and d6, but it's a special maneuver, not so easy to execute. You know, ideally, like you'd like to get this, something like cd, knight c7 and knight e8 and lock it down with a knight on d6 with the like just optimal sort of blockade of the d6 square with a knight. But a6 looks like you're just missing the boat here. I mean, I'm already concerned about a5. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe you have queen a5. I'm not sure. Knight a4. Yeah, it looks like a problem. I think you're not gonna be okay here after a6. So, still you're okay. Queen b6 check. Rook f2 is a kind of weird move. I would play king h1. Oh, he wanted to just protect this. Okay, that makes sense. Here, and I didn't mention that before, he did have rook f2. Yeah, now it's going south. I think now it's just definitely going south. If he gets in c5, if he gets control of b6, you're going to be in big trouble. And he plays b3, but I mean this is like positionally lights out. This is a serious problem for black now. These pawns, all the way pieces in the game, the b6 square, you've lost control of c5 and the dark square blockade is gone. He has possible protected passed pawn coming to d6. The whole complexion of the game has changed. It's not good. Stuck alluding to my previous comment. You made his pawns great again. You made his position great again, I think, which is sad. We don't want to make it great again. It was always great. Nah, in terms of this position, White's position wasn't always great. So we fell apart here. But he played b3 and gives you another moment to save yourself. This might be too slow, ironically. Could we play b5 maybe? Because I thought that was like originally our intention. b5. Computer likes your move knight d7, but b5 seems like the feistiest try at this point. See, I'm concerned here that the c5 is still on. Maybe we have a trick though. c5, take, rook, and then, sorry, e4. I don't like this unprotected rook. There's really ridiculous tactics here, like queen e2. I mean, could that possibly work? We're just going to primitively take and self-pin with bishop e4. It's not out of the realm of possibility that White would have this. Or maybe like you see, yeah, rook f2. Sorry, rook e2. Simpler. Just rook e2. And maybe your pawn is just like overextended on e4. You might be running out of gas here. So let's see what happened. Knight d7, queen d2. I mean, this move is okay, but I mean, I don't really understand White doesn't really try to blow black away here. Queen d2 trading queen seems kind of inoffensive. As I said, I mean, this try is still there. He tries b5 now. It looks like it's a miscalculation. What if you just take here? How bad is it? Like take. This actually looks better for white because of the C file. But it might be defensible for black. You know, I'm suspecting that this position is defensible. You have this bishop, b5, maybe bishop d8, bishop b6. You can probably hold this, even though white is theoretically better. b5 is a miscalculation. It looks like white, you know, gets the upper hand now. And I thought that white was just better here with this pawns like it is, but apparently the engine doesn't think so. Rook b8, a3. Great idea. You know, I got to give you credit. We have a saying in English, Mornaki, you know, telegraphing your moves. I mean, everybody knows what you're going to try to do when you play bishop d8 here. The computer says that a5 was actually okay. That's a nice move. Because clearly, if he plays b5, you can get a grip on the dark squares. You have just enough time to get the grip on the dark squares. That's hard to calculate on the fly in a fast time control, but it would just barely work because, like on c5, you grab the pawn on b5. Luckily, like everything would hold on. So yeah, bishop d8 is probably the end for you. Suddenly his protected passed pawn looks really ominous. This is very, very ominous. Here, that's awkward, right? But you're facing double threat. Well, I mean a threat of c7, basically. Maybe it's not that big a deal, though. I mean, if c6, bishop b6 check. I guess your biggest problem is that this is just hanging, first of all, on a6. You don't really want to trade bishops or simplify the position, so your best move is something like bishop c8 and try to hang on by the skin of your teeth. Rook e6 is really awkward. I mean, that's a move, but it's an awkward position for the rook. Obviously, you're going to come under attack very easily. You see. It's over now. He just lost everything. So you're in the game all the way, you know, pretty much there. Mate in 9. Mate in 7. Okay, guys, it's over. Thanks for submitting the game. So again, we're not going to do too many more. We've got enough time for at least 2 more. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got to get in at least 3 more. Merle Dixon, Mr. Slowhand, Uber Driver. I promise to do at least 10. See where we're at here. Merle Dixon. It's funny because Notch Papa is actually first before Merle Dixon. Well, that's weird. Merle Dixon, you came twice. That's weird. Do I have 2 submissions from Merle Dixon? Well, I tried to cheat and I put Merle Dixon first. Maybe I cheated and I put Merle first on the list when Merle wasn't first. Actually, Notch Papa was first. I've got Mule Skinner. It's not Merle Dixon. I'm sorry. Merle Dixon's later. You almost snuck in there. It's actually Mule Skinner. I can't read my own writing. All right. Mule Skinner. My bad. Mule Skinner's up. Mule Skinner and Merle Dixon have approximately the same number of letters, and they're difficult to read with my chicken scratch handwriting. I get them confused. Apparently, like around the same length of word. Mule Skinner. Kilo 96. Spanish. We've definitely seen one of these before. Mule Skinner likes the quiet approach. He likes closed positions. And we've seen one game where he melted down in like a winning position in one of these lines. So bishop c5, I mean, I like that. That's kind of active. Black's basically playing what do you call it? Archangel's variation. That makes sense. It's a Juice Box Wizard. What's up, man? Juice Box? Juice Box always makes me think of like junior high school. It makes me think of when juice boxes were invented, you know, the very first juice boxes. It sends me back to the early 80s. Jim gifted a tier 1 sub to Juicebox. 24 gift subs for Jim. Incredibly generous. I think Jim is our champion of gift subs, although this week Move 11 made a run for it with a big 10 gift sub donation. Thank you, Jim. No, that's his whole joke, Mr. Coffee. That's his whole joke with his name. I don't know, you weren't here when we discussed it once on the stream. Somehow Juicebox Wizard it's a combination of Pinball Wizard and you know, these songs. So C3 H6. So, you know, this kind of thing I talked to Stuk about once. In the black side of, like, okay, you have to ask Beliavsky because he's like the expert on the archangels, but it just seems like in the black side of the Joko, and particularly in this archangels, I don't think this bishop g5 is really a problem, you know? I mean, because you're not even castled yet here, for example. And knight g5 doesn't look right. So h6 is just like, h6 is just like random. I mean, it's played in one game. Roy Castellanos Rodriguez. Castellanos. My Spanish is rusty because I never speak Spanish anymore. H6, A4. Yeah, standard. This is kind of a standard. Jim gifted a tier 1 sub to Gita B. That's awesome. He went crazy for 25. Congratulations to Gita B for being a subscriber too. BBB. That's cool. So Jim, super generous. 25. A nice round number for gift subs. Superman, thank you. Congratulations to Gita B. So A4 is a normal looking move. I like how Neil Skinner here patient about castling kingside. I mean, I think that most people would castle kingside. I like knight d2, and I don't think we have to fear like knight g4. Well deserved, Jim. Jim with 25. Nice badge. You got a new badge? 25 gift subs. That's cool, man. We've certainly... Arsenal fan has what he has a sub gifter box there. Merrill Dixon has 25 cheer box, and Warnock has a 5k cheer box. All right, so A4, B4. And I don't really love B4 here. It's okay, though. I mean, Short would do that in the anti-martial. I guess it's okay to do B4. I kind of like Rook B8 better, or maybe Bishop B7. I'm curious what the engine says. The computer clearly likes Bishop B7 the best. I mean, it's a normal square for the bishop in the Archangelsk anyway. So that's interesting. Nobody's tried that. We have a novelty with B4 now. Castles. Mamajaro's definitely playing G5. Batten down the hatches. That's all right. I don't buy it, you know. I don't buy G5 here. A5. There goes the white squares. And I'm not certain that black has to play A5 at all. You know, and it's also time consuming. We're hoping that white plays A5 so we can execute the Vita Levente maneuver with Rook B5. Actually famously played in short Kasparov, or Kasparov short. A5, D4. Oh, you mean like moves like H6 and A5 are not appropriate here? That's the problem with this d3 type of setup. When you're black, you go into this lackadaisical kind of mentality, like white is a quiet player. He's playing d3. What kills black the most in the quiet Joko pianissimo? Look at Magnus Carlsen or anybody who's played like the quiet Joko. It's always d4. It's just a delayed d4 that kills you. And of course, like this just rolls black. I mean, it's over after d4. That's amazing. It's just over. Actually, he could have played it right away. I mean, this is probably really strong too. I mean, because black doesn't have a check on b4. Now that I think about it, I wonder if Mule Skinner could have played this. You see, right now, I mean, if he plays like here, he played a4. If he plays d4, black can take, bishop b4, check. Maybe it's not that bad. But once he goes here, like a4, b4, I mean, actually, we should start looking at this now. Yeah, so I think Mule Skinner actually probably should pull the trigger on this immediately, you know? Obviously, d6 has got to be better than a5. Bishop a7, like a Muller variation or something. This is not healthy for black. I mean, he's basically cooked because he played h6, first of all. Computer likes d4 right away. I was only thinking like a Joko, you know, you could go here, this wouldn't be that bad. But the engine says e5 is crushing. Maybe it's not that crushing. But h6, the alarm bells start to ring. This move. And it's funny here. I mean, you've got a grandmaster, right? I think Castellanos Roy, right? It's like a GM. It's like he didn't play d4, you know? This just like a4 is a good move. I sort of accepted it was a good move. But I mean, d4 might just almost put black out right away. Because h6 is just too slow. You've got to play like d6 here. I mean, this is a standard position. Alexander Belyavsky. It's a quiet setup with d3 against Archangel, and it has to be fine for, it should be fine for black. You know, it's just not that critical. Okay, so anyway, let's see what happens. So a4 here, castles, a5, d4, he's rolling him off the board. This is over, right? It's just over. d5 square, f4, e5, forget about it. Battle for the center. This is a good move, but it's not necessary. I mean, Mule Skinner, you're just killing the guy. This looks like it just wins by force. Take, f4 resigns. I'm surprised that Mule Skinner didn't see that, you know? I mean, this is really obvious. So he was kind of taking it easy on his opponent with bishop d5. I mean, it's not a bad move, you know? A little too reticent. This also gives white a huge advantage. Center. There's a little problem in the center. So now he goes for the knockout, though. Clearly opening the e-file would be very, very dangerous. So black doesn't do that. The only thing that white's missing is the white squared bishop, which would be devastating. Any sort of white squared bishop here would be slice and dice. Immediately game over. So Mule Skinner has to do without that piece, which would be handy. This is nice. He's just having fun. He's just having fun here. But it almost looks like black can kind of survive now. You know, get out of town. Ops color bishops. Mule Skinner let this slide again. And now it's, yeah. You're a pawn up in ops colored bishop position. Everything is gone now. Material loses a lot of its meaning when you go in ops colored bishops. So black's practically okay. The d6 pawn slightly overextended, but the main thing is that he's got the white squares, you have the dark squares. It's really just a question of who has more dynamics here. Again, material means very little. You're not going to win ops colored bishop endgame up a pawn because of the extra pawn. He gave the pawn back. I think it's actually not a bad decision to give the pawn back, again, because it just doesn't matter here. Dynamics are everything. Rook E1, Rook B8. Now the computer found some sort of tactic. I'm not like fully convinced. Rook C6, D takes C6, D7. Turn off the engine. I don't want to cheat, but I mean clearly you can see like Rook C6, D C6, D7, Bishop somewhere. There's no immediate forced win. I don't understand what's going on here. You got Knight C6. Ah, you win a piece. He can't take that. Okay. Thorn in the side. Winnie the Pooh. Somehow I'm remembering this Winnie the Pooh, where he's got a thorn in his side or something. This pawn is kind of a thorn. Knight B5. Bishop A6. Speaking of blowouts, I was watching baseball. Like there was a game the other day. The St. Louis Cardinals had this 2-2 playoff series and they win like 13-1. I mean, I hate games in sports that are like totally mismatches. That's so disappointing. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Knight C7, Bishop B7, Rook C4. Welcome to the G4 square. So you see how dynamic this got. Black is going for white squares, white's going for dark squares. And all of a sudden it looks like G7 is down. You know, we've got Rook G4, Bishop D4, black can't access the E8 square. The knight on C7 is killing him. Killing you softly with his love. Is that the song? Little elevator music for you guys. Rook G4, Bishop D4. How are we going to get to G7? I was thinking of just going here directly because it actually protects G2 as well. What's the strongest move now? Yep. Instinct. But that's the thing, Milskinner, like you're attacking his queen, but I think you should focus on the real target. Mr. Slowhand just mega cheered 3,500 bits. Oh my god. Wow, dude. Hope for a comment on my game. Mr. Slowhand, you're next. What do you know? It's not a payoff. It's not the Ukraine. Mr. Slowhand just happens to be next in the list. It's a conspiracy. Call Rudy Giuliani and find out if he has arranged for Mr. Slowhand to have the next game. 3,500 bits. I think there's some corruption here. We will see. Wow, huge donation by Mr. Slowhand. Up to 5,000 for this week. We're definitely doing that game next. So, Muleskinner should have played Rook G4. He's setting it up. The devastation of Bishop D4 now. I don't think that he quite got the memo. He didn't quite get the memo here with black. And Muleskinner only has 10 seconds left, but it's over. So. No. I think Rook E7. Rook E7 with an X-ray attack against G7 looks really, really nasty. Then King H7 only move? I can't believe black's going to put up much resistance. Obviously, Muleskinner might be concerned about the back rank. And it's just a little bit of a boring finish here, but he managed to get it done. There's no back rank mate because of King H2. So, all right, guys. Surprisingly, Mr. Slowhand is next, but I will show you. It's not a conspiracy. Mr. Slowhand was actually... There's Muleskinner, and there's Mr. Slowhand. So it's not really a conspiracy. Mr. Slowhand was really next on the list. It's true. There's no corruption. There's no conspiracy. It's legitimate. All right? Thank you guys for supporting the stream. There's no corruption. here. Nothing to see here. Just move along. All right. So Mr. Slowhand is up next. You'll see it on the list before Uber Driver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've actually got to do 2 more. The last one will be Uber Driver, it looks like, for today. Maybe I'll try to do 2 quick analysis. Leonid Milov playing white. I don't know Leonid Milov. I know the other Milov, which did a very nasty thing to me. The real Milov. What's his name? Vadim Milov. Made a beautiful exchange sacrifice against me. Took me downtown with a nasty positional exchange sacrifice. That was not fun. E4, C5, and we're white here. So E6, D4, C takes D4, knight takes D4, knight C6, knight C3, queen C7. Belyavsky. Uncompromising chess. No, I know that Belyavsky, I think, played like A6, F4. I really like this move. Very aggressive, kind of cool approach. The picture is grayed out on Twitch. Yeah, it's a black and white photo. That's why it's grayed out. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maybe something else. Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you for the heads up. Queen C7. Really good book, by the way. A Compromising Chess by Alexander Belyavsky. Collection of his games. But he liked to play F4 in a similar position. This is a cool move. You know, I mean, knight B5, you know, I mean, that's kind of positional. I like F4. Although Queen C7 seems a little more aggressive than A6. Interesting stuff. I've never played this, so. Now black plays A6. We could even get like a transposition. Now you play knight takes C6. Mikey Adams. Was that his last game with E4 in history or something? Okay, this is a theoretical position. It's very sharp. You need to have a lot of knowledge. I'm not an authority at all on either side of this position. In spirit, I don't like playing knight takes C6. It's a theoretical concession, but it looks like the theory agrees with knight takes C6. Black can take back all different ways here. D takes, you see, D takes is okay if you can play E5. But if you can't play E5, it's not okay. I know that. Your opponent played queen takes, hoping for like light squares on this diagonal. Bishop D3. So this is theory. This is Mr. Slowhand's game with white. He's playing a titled player here. You could theoretically castle either side. I mean, it seems more natural to castle king side. We've got Jim, who would love to play knight D5. Very common theme, you know, of course, Jim. We know about your first game today. Setting up the Jim sacrifice, also known as the Florentino Garmendes. First taught it to me in 1989. One of my first games, maybe my first game in the chess database, is like a loss against Florentino Garmendes, this Mexican master. He just killed me with a knight D5. Move 11 did it again. He did it again. He's gifting 5-tier subs. Now we've got to like go over Move 11's game. Move 11 extending the stream with a 5-6, actually 5 tier 1 subs. Prickler. I love that name. HDNK, no money, lol. That's appropriate. Chess Kudo, which is cool because Chess Kudo has definitely been on the stream. And Gina Rook, which is also cool because Gina was chatting with us like one of the last streams. So a couple people we've been knowledgeable of. Actually, your old chess coach showed you the knight D5. Bishop B7, Bishop D2, Bishop C5. I have seen, you know, some instances. I mean, obviously, once you play Bishop D2, you're kind of like, well, you're not going to be playing Bishop E3. I thought I saw like Shirov play this and lose against Hambleton. Wasn't there like an Isle of Man game a couple years ago where Alexei actually lost like with white really bad? I had this weird feeling it was a similar line. But okay, anyway. So bishop d2 is apparently book. I'm out of my depth here with the theory of this. I don't play the black side of this. And I don't play the white side either. But I have seen similar games. So bishop c5, we're not castling king side. So now you have to castle queen side, which is, you know, pretty sharp, obviously. But you're going to have to commit, you know, sooner or later. You got the Jim move, but the problem with this, you know, and I get this a lot in the Velimirovich, where we just leave it on d5. I mean, you're not actually threatening anything. It's nice to stick the knight on d5, but you don't actually have a threat. Vasek Rylik actually did that. It looks like Vasek actually played knight d5 here. Every game's in Hungary, I told you guys. This was played in a, you know, presumably an IM tournament in Budapest in 2001. I was not in Budapest in 2001. Vasek Rylik is a friend of mine. He's the programmer of Rybka, and he became an IM playing over there. But I was not in Budapest 2001. I was living in Boston. So this was, I missed these tournaments. But knight d5 is inappropriate here. There's no threat. So a4. The problem here now for slow hand is that where are you going to put your king in this position? You got a king problem. You can't castle king side because of the bishop on c5. And once you played a4, you're kind of like burning your bridges on the queen side. It's going to be tricky to castle queen side having weakened yourself with a4. So if you see here, the only known entity who's played this with white is like, you know, this French player, Koch, and Libzewski. I mean, but nobody really good has played a4. I think that castle queen side, you know, looks like the consistent move here. Castle queen side, you're going to move the king over to b1. Once you played bishop d2, you more or less kind of committed yourself to a plan based on castling king side. If you're to play, I mean, I guess bishop e3, I don't really see what's wrong with it. Maybe there's some problems with protecting e4. Kupraychik. If you want to castle kingside, it's probably not too late to play bishop e3. Kupraychik, one of the greatest attacking players in modern history. But passed away recent years. But anyway, all right, bishop d2, bishop c5, a4. This is kind of debatable for me. And yeah, this just, you know, now we have knight d5, but what does it do? Okay, we're attacking b4. Black can't take, so, and a5 will allow bishop b5, some sort of stuff like that. Is a5, bishop b5, queen d6, disaster? Again, I'm out of my depth here. The Sokolov Andre, who was a candidate for the World Championship at one point, has a game from presumably like French Team Championship 2014 here. And also Milan Murdia against Korneyev, who's also a very professional grandmaster. 2 games with black anyway. Black actually played queen d6 in 8 games here. Just hanging on to the pawn. I mean, that is super awkward. Now I thought for 15 minutes as I was losing a pawn. But queen d6 is ultra awkward. My first thought was a5. This is Johnny Hector against Einar Gossel. Troll Masters 1991. Norway. I played Einar on World Chess Network years ago. Johnny Hector is world famous. Wild man. But Johnny now played f5, creating maximum chaos. Right, no, I mean, my assumption would be like bishop e5, but queen d6 anyway, they're doing that, you know. It's not clear what's next. Negative 0.4. I mean, so it turns out that bishop e5 is not that bad. This is probably okay for black. You know, actually Johnny Hector's probably right, like f5. And now black castled queenside. It's an interesting game, very sharp. The computer actually says king f8, really calling the question the knight on d5. But I'm sure that Johnny Hector would have some ideas here. We'll have to leave the question open for now. But I thought a5 was more natural, protecting pawns with pawns. You don't want queens protecting pawns. You know what I mean? So that's very awkward. There are a couple games of knight f6. Sokolov, not a bad player. So what's up with this? Easily the most natural move. He's going to try to get the e4 pawn in exchange for the b4 pawn. So knight takes b4. This guy was a world championship candidate. I mean, Andrei Sokolov is not a joker. You know, this is a very strong player. Bishop takes b4, bishop takes b4, and knight takes e4. And it's also played by Damjanovic. So this looks like the professional way to play. You give up the bishop pair, but you gain the e4 pawn. You lose a lover, but you gain a friend. But it's up to debate, you know, whether black is really 100% okay here. Tough call. Anyway, so we're dealing with the white pieces, though. Our hero is playing white. Black played queen d6. White plays, what, knight e3 now. And this has apparently all been played before. And white won every single game, except for one. 7 out of 8 ain't bad? Is that what they say? Like, that's a pretty good score, man. That's a pretty good score. I'll take that. Amanatov, another player who's known now. And these are strong players going down. Korneyev, another guy who's I've never heard of, but he's rated 2492. Malhatko, like totally known GM, and some 2200. But this is apparently just good for white. The pawn grab. I mean, if Korneyev played it, it's probably, you know, not that bad. Malhatko and Korneyev, two experienced grandmasters. Queen f4, rook f1. So, natural move, but hanging the h2 pawn with no clear threat. What's the point? Where's our discovery? I mean, what's the point here? Where's the denouement? Where's the weak point in black's position? Knight d5 followed by bishop f4. There's queen h4 check g3. So does knight d5. I want to look at that, but black has like queen b8. Or even queen d6, but let's just for argument's sake, like queen b8. I don't really see anything clear, you know. Johnny Hector would probably play queen g4. I have no idea what's going on here. We could get g7, we might have something. So apparently it's knight c4, but I'm not gonna just take the computer's word for it. Knight c4, queen c7, and it is queen g4. Yeah, I mean that's the one weak point in black's position that you can actually point to, you know, and say, what can I attack, you know, that's not protected in black's position. So only one game did black survive here. Igor Gazic, it's a not that strong player, I guess, 23-30, but he's playing Bosco. I mean, it's tough, dude. Kind of strong player with black. That's the only game where black actually survived. But d5, according to the engine. Julio Segura in 2009, who's now a very, very strong 2600. So apparently this is actually okay for black. Very messy position. E takes d5, and black played f5. But he could have played e takes d5. It's just not clear what's going on. If queen g7, you take on c4, it's like a freaking winnower. Very, very crazy position. Wow. Okay, guys. That was a long analysis. Let's check it out. But very generous donation from Slowhand. So I want to rook f1. Just nothing really going on here with f7. It looks like this move feels a little greedy, but he gives himself queen h4 check. Although queen h2, queen g4 is still going to be a problem. So I'm kind of wondering if black should consider, you know, evacuating with queen c7. Yeah, even you said really greedy. Computer likes queen h2. I mean, if it was a blitz game, my gut instinct would agree. I would probably play like queen c7, try to be safe. It does feel greedy to take on h2. Queen g4, only chance, and now g6. And you have compensation for the sacrificed pawn. I mean, now the knight c4 stuff starts to roll, but you got to get your king out of here. You can't leave your king in the center. Castles queenside, queen c7. It's a weird situation with the king, you know, and a4 having been played. So whatever you do, you got to do it fast, because you're going to have a problem if you're not fast enough. Knight c4, f6, kind of an ugly move to say the least. Already e5 looks like it's possible, but I guess their f5 would shut it down. This is the game. I mean, I don't want to play e5 if it's just a dead end. Maybe you have something better, like bishop f4, perhaps, with piece sacrifices. I mean, what would you do, Jim? Bishop f4 looks kind of strong. What's with that? This looks seriously strong. I mean, if e5, I was thinking of sacrificing a piece. Can I sacrifice a piece? There's nothing here. Damn. There's nothing there. But at least it induces black to weaken himself. You know? You probably have good compensation. This looks kind of tough, though. Okay, you're going to keep him frozen, or what? On the dark squares? Man, this is a long game. This is all over. Oh, draw offer. Okay. Queen f4. So I'm not sure, though, you know, what the best move is here. Let's see what the engine says. Queen h4, queen f4. Queen h4. Yeah. It is kind of weird to drop your g2 pawn. I don't know what I would play. I wouldn't play e5, though. You know, I definitely wouldn't play e5. It doesn't feel like you want to lock this position up. Like, you're ahead in development, so it seems more like logical to keep it fluid. Plus, you've got pressure on f6. I think you're helping him by playing e5, but that's my gut instinct. You know, I think you should try to play something else here. Shabala beat Hambo in this line, but was losing in the Pro League. Said straight dope chess. Yeah, Shabalov is great. You know, he's great in open positions. I mean, he's extremely strong in tactics, obviously. Knows quite a bit of theory, but he seems like somehow he was not himself for a long time. Lately, he's come back, though. He's on the cover of Chess Life, and he won the U.S. Senior closed. He did well on the Senior Championship or Senior Teams or whatever. But yeah, he's a great player. We've played. He's dangerous in open positions. I mean, certainly. All right, guys, that was a great game. Let's check out another game from Uber Driver. And my stream is extending. We're going to quickly go over Uber Driver and play this game today. All right, quickly Uber Driver. Don't worry, Merle. We're not getting your game. We've only got this in move 11. E4, knight f3, Uber Driver's white. Thanks, Mr. Slowhand Grind, for the donations this week, and move 11 for the gift sub. So now everybody's going to play knight d5. I never really liked this move. But since Fabiano played it, now it's like the gold star variation. This is absolutely best, you know. According to the latest trends, but you know, for me, it's always been weird to play a variation where you're closing down your own. I'm more of a kind of classical player in terms of Sveshnikov. There's also 97. Nobody plays that. You know, is it that bad? Where's Blobix? Is this variation just bad? Is there something concretely like refuting this? Because nobody plays it. All right, knight b8, bishop e2. This is Uber driver. Mr. Sohan with another donation. Wow, dude. Thank you so much. Must find my Korchnoi draw in a simul. Wow, you've got a Korchnoi draw in a simul? That is insane. I'd love to see that. That is awesome. 1,600 bits. Thanks for supporting the stream. We really need it. Really generous. Thank you, sir. But it was a good game and a very interesting game, theoretically. All right, guys. So I've got to wrap up here. Last quick 2 games. But Uber Driver playing, C4 is the classical way to play, right? But isn't the A4 the Fabiano? Am I losing my mind? How was it the World Championship? Wasn't Fabiano playing A4? You guys tell me, because I don't even remember. No, I can't even remember. I didn't care that much about the World Championship, frankly. I wasn't excited by Caruana versus Carlsen. It's not my thing. I also don't particularly like this line, but I thought that Caruana's idea, right, was the knight revolving through c4, which is like a more modern take. For some reason, those games are not in the... So the World Championship's not in the opening Explorer? Okay, that's weird. Anyway, so c4 is traditional. This is just like not really normally done. Although, what's black going to do about it? Like a6 and b5 right away. Maybe black tries to play a6 and b5 right away. That would be the refutation, right? Bakuti Gurganidze against Ratmir, 1981. It's a serious game from the Soviet school of chess. 2 legends battling it out in 1981. I mean, I was thinking like maybe black goes b5. I mean, if you really want to like try to punish this move order by white, I mean, what's up? Risky because white might play like a4. Look at the computer's move, b4. Holy crap. That's awesome. Just b4 followed by a4, cracking the queen side. Anyways, let's see what happens. So bishop e7, castles, and then f4. Definitely not playing like Fabiano style. Watch out for the dark squares. He just takes. So this is, yeah, you better be careful of that diagonal there. I don't really like the fact that black, gave up his e5 pawn, and now this knight has a good square on d4. But this is basically like a Skaven Ingen more than the Sveshnikov now, it feels like. Less Sveshnikov-y. a6, knight d4, great square for the knight, but black, I don't know. What does he do? Probably bishop g5, actually. Black should be fine. So g6 is just unnecessary. Unnecessary roughness. Unnecessary pawn moves with the g6. I think that we're going to chop that knight when it comes to f5. We're going to eliminate that piece, and we're going to try to get our bad bishop, traded. I mean, maybe you could do something funky like bishop f2. But seriously, I mean, it's got to be bg5 here. That's very solid for black. This is just kind of weakening. I don't really like g6 that much. It may not be that bad, but let's see. a4, f5. Now there's this... Any moment, you're going to have to deal with knight e6. Thanks so much, Mr. Slowhand Grind, for the donations. a5, bishop g5. This is kind of a typical position now. I like the space, the lateral rook maneuver. g5, queen c1. Yeah, actually, this is not a bad move. I think that black should probably try f4, though. Does that call your whole plan into question? Or you have g3, that's your point. g3, what you gonna do? If f4 g3, game over. Maybe. I mean, so you're subtly reminding me of this game that I analyzed a while back. It's getting a little bit like this game that Gelfand lost. to that little Russian guy, that young grandmaster who's getting really, really strong. Can't remember his name now. Sort of young Russian prodigy who's like 2600. Queen h4. Okay. And then queen f4. I mean, you could just play like queen f4, rook f4, anything f4, rook a4. How can you not play rook a4 here? Bishop d7, rook b4. Is that okay? Can I do this? Bishop d7, rook b4. It's a little bit of acrobatic performance here for white. This d5 pawn looks kind of sketchy, so I guess you're not doing this. Too fancy. I like queen f4. I mean, that's what I would play in a blitz game, just to be on the safe side. Because if queen f4, rook f4, g5, yeah, he gains the tempo, whatever, but you're still fine. I mean, you're still, yeah, he's got f4, but you got your space, and I think that this is safe. It's okay for white, at least. This is certainly the safest move to play. But when you don't trade queens here, you know, it gets a little bit hairy. Maybe black still got some chances to play for a win, objectively. This sort of simplified down. This is safe now. So that was your main concern. Good defensive sort of prophylactic play by Uber Driver. Check. And then I guess queen e7 is something. Wow. Risky decision by black, take on b2. Very risky decision. I thought you were going to play queen e7. Take that pawn on d6. I think you should. I don't think counting pawns here matters. Your pawn is very, very strong on d5. Computer said Uber Driver made 6 inaccuracies, but you know, I think this is a major one. I mean, I would definitely grab that pawn. It doesn't matter if he gets 2 pawns. Your pawn is so strong. And your a pawn is sort of holding up his whole queen side. So he has like an extra pawn on the queen side, an extra pawn on the king side, but he's not going anywhere with his pawns. Your d5 pawn seems like it's really relevant, you know, where his extra queen side majority and his king side majority are frozen. This is actually a kind of blunder, I guess. And here we go again. Well, this is what I was talking about, like which pawn is relevant. But I guess the most relevant thing is like all of a sudden black's just like losing on the 7th rank. It's over. It's not quite over. Wow, black can hold here. I thought it was over. Black has to be like perfect. Obviously d6 is logical. Apparently rook takes f7. Wow. How does that work? I don't even understand. Bishop e2. Almost impossible to find that line. Really in a fast game. So. And now black has to be careful, but really we should trade queenside pawns and it's like a draw. I'd be happy with a draw with either color here. Then it became a little tricky. So h5, oh man, that's greedy. Black has to be super careful. Bishop c6. This is tricky to hold because the a pawn's dangerous. And then I guess h4 was a neat move, by the way. You won on time? That's not on time, but it got marred by the time pressure. All right, man, interesting game. I'm going to take a look at one more game because move 11, even though he was late with his submission, he's been very generous supporting the stream. If you have time, look at this game, game 2 of the Fischer Petrosian candidates match. Quickly, we're going to take a look at this in 5 minutes. Just for move 11. This is Petrosian Fischer. I'm just going to, I don't know, look at it from White's perspective. I don't even know who won. I mean, I'm assuming like Fischer won because he won the match against Petrosian, but we'll take a look. So, Grunfeld. I don't think I ever analyzed this game. I don't know, it's possible I did long ago. I think bishop f4 is just a solid move. Very safe variation for white. Spoiler. Bishop f4. Uber driver with the spoilers today. Man. Bishop f4, bishop g7, e3. Designed to be solid for white. And now Bobby played c5. I guess you can castle fine. You know, there is a variation where they grab the pawn, right? Like cd, knight d5. The greed variation. Bishop takes c7. I mean, come on now. Geary likes this. And Li Chao. It's like a forced draw or something. I mean, that's so greedy. All right, c5, dc5, queen a5. First of all, you have to look to like Botvinnik, because Botvinnik played black in very important games in this variation before Fischer. So Fischer could draw upon Botvinnik's experience, you know, in the Grunfeld. And the first book I ever had on the Grunfeld was the classic Botvinnik book by RHM Press on the Grunfeld. The godfather of Grunfeld theory. But anyway, knight e4, cd5. Later, Fischer, Karpov and Kasparov would also battle in this opening. Karpov tried various things against the Grunfeld in their matches in the late 80s and in the 90 match. Knight takes c3, queen d2, queen a2, bc3, queen a5. This is all book, and it's still theory today. Although it's interesting to note that you can see here there's no games since 2009 with really strong players. So it looks like the theory is kind of played out here. At that time, though, it was 1971. This was relatively fresh, I guess. Bishop c4. So what's going on? I mean, we've got 7 pawns each, 6 pawns for black, 7 pawns for white. c5 is falling. So it's going to be equal material. You know, I'm saying how this is like a solid system for white, but this position actually is anything but solid. I mean, it looks like really kind of sharp. We're going to lose the c5 pawn. I mean, black now plays knight d7. Like the first thought that crosses your mind is like, why is it wrong to play queen takes c5? Because knight, you know, why did the chicken cross the road? I mean, because something's better than queen takes c5, right? If another move is better, then we play the other move. Knight d7, knight e2, and now knight takes c5 is certainly, you know, the rational thing to do. Hey, let's get our pawn back with a decent position. But it looks like Fischer here got kind of ambitious. He played knight e5. He's basically trying to get more. Get his pawn back later maybe, but try to play for like even knight c4, maybe some sort of dominant position. So bishop a2, bishop f5, going for the jugular. This is just, I think, a case of being too ambitious. I mean, again, it's hard to understand like what's wrong with this. I mean, is Fischer concerned like c4 or something? I mean, it looks like black is okay, you know? It feels like Fischer was being too ambitious. Easy to criticize the former greatest player in the world. I don't know. It's just the first time I've seen this game, I think. It just looks like you should equalize before you play for a win here. Fischer's going kind of crazy. Bishop f5. And keep in mind how strong a defender Petrosian is. So he just plays bishop takes e5. There goes that. Bishop pair. We're going to try to get the pawn, have the bishop pair, and have an advantage. I see. Knight d4. Well, no bishop pair. Now you got the pawn. So, I mean, after everything's said and done, right, what did Fischer really gain with all this? Bishop f5, super aggro play. He's got ups-colored bishops, and he's got an outside pawn, but he's playing Petrosian, and Petrosian is a rock. White square, bind. It looks like a blockade, probably a draw would be the expected result here. Symbolic advantage of the outside pawn majority. But ups-colored bishops are kind of sharp. It's surprising that Fischer actually lost. But the computer thinks the white is better. So Fischer was overconfident, you know, it looks like. Though I admit it's not obvious. This pawn is weak. Castles. This is over-optimism by Bobby Fischer, is what it is. Kind of an unnecessary loss. Now he's got problems. Yeah, I don't really know. You know, he didn't really plan it out very well. He could have comfortably had an equal game, and I'm sure he saw that, but it is deceptive, though, how big White's advantage is, according to the engine. I mean, it doesn't look that bad. You think it's equal material. Black has the symbolic outside pawn. It's 6 pawns each. Your king doesn't look that scary. But there's all of a sudden this concrete problem with the pawn on f5, and you can't play e6. And if that pawn falls, then the black king will never be safe, and the white pawns will slowly like just roll in the middle. If f5 falls, I guess like the whole position collapses. That's the basic premise here. So Fischer just plays f4. I mean, it's hard to lose the f5 pawn if you play f4, right? Principled. And just c4. So he doesn't lose the f pawn, but he does open the f file here, potentially for white. Petrosian just going with c4, c5, creating a passed pawn. I don't think that's all that devastating yet. Now at this point, Fischer is hoping to trade queens and reduce any sort of danger. But Petrosian plays queen a4 check. I mean, the black king is much less safe than the white king. So clearly trading queens would be passive. Got to be careful of the dark squares. And this is not only about the passed pawn, but obviously access to f7. Everything is hinging on the white squares, so f7, f7, f7. I mean, any way we can get at f7 is going to be fatal for black. He's just trying to pry it open. Bobby tries to threaten mate and protect f7. And f4 is kind of an inconvenience. Now, obviously e2. But I mean, like e2, pawn takes bishop, pawn takes rook, queen d1, and it's over. I mean, if you did this, it would just be like, oh, that's the game. Yeah, I don't think I ever actually analyzed this game. You just take, I guess, with the queen. What's the finish here? I've never actually looked at this game. It occurs to me. Queen d1 doesn't seem like a knockout. You just got to take with the rook, I guess. You just got to take with the rook. You can't afford to trade queens here. And it's pretty fatal. I mean, this is kind of a big threat. I wouldn't resign right away. So this is the game. Queen e5. I guess the only move. f7 is very vulnerable. Black's playing down a rook. Actually down 2 rooks. And now e6. I was expecting e6. But queen d7 is just over. He can't afford to allow queen d7. Another access to f7. just devastating. Beautiful game. And I guess it's just over now. I know, I thought there was like another way, but you got this check down here, so you can't lift the rook. And now f6 is gone. And now you just can come back if there's a back rank threat. It's over. So, great game. Thanks for submitting that move 11 and for supporting the stream. Went over time today. I want to just say, you know, what's apparent in this game, looking at it for the first time, because I never did analyze this, I don't believe, is that you have the very distinct impression that Fischer was overconfident with black. You know, he wasn't satisfied with like equalizing. He was kind of irrationally trying for too much, you know, with black. And I think that this is probably, you know, something that Petrosian did to people on a regular basis. I mean, if they were too aggressive, he would just take them out. It was a good game by White, but objectively the opening was okay for Fischer. He should have been fine. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me for the subscriber stream. International Master William Pascal, thank you. We'll be back tomorrow with Blitz and Rapid Chess here, 5:30. Thanks, everyone. It's been my pleasure. Good stream. Specifically, thank you to Slow Hand Grind, Jim, Move 11, you guys for supporting the stream with the generous donations. Thanks to Mr. Coffee, our moderator, kept him late tonight after school. And thanks to all of you guys for subscribing. This subscriber stream is my way of saying thank you to everybody. So I'll see you guys, some of you for Blitz, Open Blitz challenges tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern time here on lichess, and I have a simul on Sunday at the same time. So thanks everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. B. B. Take care, guys. Have a great night.